Week 16 of the NFL through our holiday weekend, and there was pretty good games, We had some divisions get decided. We had some playoff bursts get more interesting. We had some whimpers, but all in all, very interesting football. And 2 more weeks to go. We will look ahead to the prenuptials of the NFL this year, Week 17. But let's talk about Week 16 with the homies. Alex Young is here, Bryan McKeon, and Desmond Price. Alex Ranelli is sick. We'll see him next week. What's up, gentlemen?
Not much. How are you?
How we doing, everyone?
Good to be back.
Big times ahead. So let's get to it, guys. Things first, we're going to start it off. NFC East divisional matchup where the Cowboys and the Eagles played a pretty good game.
Oh, right off the bat. Okay.
Right off the bat with the Eagles fan and the Cowboys fan in the room. So Gardner Minshew comes in pretty well. Good enough. It was a high-scoring game throughout, but ultimately Dallas takes the victory. They secure a playoff spot as well, and now things just get a little more interesting with 2 weeks to go. But looking towards this game with a Jalen Hurts-less Eagles, I'll talk with you first, Desmond. I'll give it to you. So you're the fan of the other team on the other end of this. How'd you feel about your team playing? Do you feel that without their starting quarterback, they were able to hold their own and you still have some confidence in this team moving forward in the final 2 weeks of the season?
I was both encouraged and discouraged at the same time for multiple reasons. I'll try not to take a million years with this because I could probably rant about it. But, it's if you told me at the beginning of the game that Gardner Minshew was going to come in and our offense was going to put up 34 points, would you be okay with that? And my answer would be yes, a million times yes. Gardner Minshew, after not playing a down all year, can come in and lead my team to score 34 points on the road against one of the best teams in the NFL. You take that every single time. I had no idea that our defense was going to be laughable and just get absolutely trounced on, giving up 40 points to Dallas. I mean, this was the same playbook that I saw with the Commanders, only a little bit different variation. Instead of because to their credit, Eagles got ran on for weeks on end. They addressed that between Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. They gave up a combined 75 rushing yards. That was a great stat to see, but they just got shredded in the passing game. Our number one pass defense got shredded. We were playing this garbage zone defense that Dak was tearing up. He went 15, 19 of 19, something like that against zone coverage. And there was just no adjustments. And so I'm looking at the defensive coordinator this week. You can't give up 40 points to any team, especially if you're trying to go to a Super Bowl. So yeah, people can point to Minshew, having some turnovers, having 4 turnovers, so on and so forth. But man, if you have 4 turnovers and you still score 34 points, I'm clapping as far as I'm concerned. That's amazing. You can't give up 40 points and expect to beat any team. And you shouldn't have to ask your offense to score 40 to win a fucking game. So as far as I'm concerned, good on the offense. Defense needs to wake the hell up if we're going to win a title this year. And I am pretty sad that Lane Johnson went out. I hope that he's able to come back for the playoffs because I think that he is our best offensive lineman. And I see our offense taking a hit without him.
Okay. You don't want to know one thing. Maybe you agree or disagree. I think it's good. The word I'm looking for. In the juju of the NFL, because we know teams who historically NFL have their regular season with only one loss, with the exception of the 85 Bears, have major collapses. 98 Vikings, the 15 Panthers as examples. I just think for a juju sense, it's good to take this loss because the football gods might make it ugly for you. Whether you agree with that or not, I just think it's just good in that sense.
I don't really think about that kind of stuff too much because everything's a curse until it isn't. Everything's a stat until it isn't. I think about how our teams match up against the other good teams in the NFL. And we lost the Cowboys, but I think it was anyone's game down at the end. There was a 1-possession game I thought it would be. I think we could hang with San Francisco. I think we could hang with Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City. I think, but if we're going to win those games, we got to have a better defensive showing.
Fair enough. Now for the Cowboys fan who also hates the Cowboys and Bryan, How do you feel about your team's outing on Christmas Eve?
So I would say this is probably one of my favorite football games I've ever watched in my life, to be honest with you. Christmas Eve around with my entire family, me, my dad, and my brothers all around, just huddled around the TV, cursing out Dak Prescott, high-fiving because of Dak Prescott, hating Ezekiel Elliott because he can't get more than 3 yards, pulling off like a 20-yard run at one point. It was such an up and down moment. I'm going to get into the Eagles quick. I agree completely with everything Desmond said. I would say this, Gardner Minshew, in my eyes, proved to me that he's a qualified starter in the NFL in just that one game alone, because those 2 interceptions, if you're watching the game, weren't his fault. Deron Bland ripped out 2 of them out of one was overthrown. The other one was ripped right out of the receiver's hands. You can't do anything about that. It happened. So he played a great game. When it comes to Philadelphia, I think they got exposed in the past because they have been keying up so much on the run, which that leads to a weak zone defense, pulling another DB into the box to stop the run. So I think their limitations in the run game have now forced them to play a defense that allows them to be more balanced, but also sometimes give up huge chunk plays in the pass game because they're playing for the run now. So with Dallas, Dak Prescott, he had a good game after that pick six. He responded well to adversity. That pick six was horrendous. He's a constant turnover machine now this season. It's almost like he wants to prove it to us that he could have comeback victories. That's why he throws picks now. Let's go behind just so I could show that I'm worth my contract. He needs to stop with these turnovers now because eventually the buck will end there and we're going to lose the game. Run game got stuffed. I expected that just because of the response, to Philadelphia in trying to stop the run the last past weeks. But I was amazed at the passing game. Really, Kellen Moore, even though he's night and day every other week, calling a good game, not calling a good game. Kellen Moore called a good game this week in the passing game for Dallas. CeeDee Lamb went off with a $120 and 2 touchdowns. Welcome back, T.Y. Hilton with that 52-yard catch.
On 3 and 32.
Can we just start? Can I just kind of pause
well.
you for 1 second there?
Yeah.
3rd and 31.
Yeah.
What the fuck did you think was about to happen? I can't get over that. Like, you're a safety. Your job is to make sure no one gets behind you. And somehow that mother. Come on.
He was running.
How does that happen?
He was running cover 2 man. Cornerback has a certain amount of that. He has man coverage on him, and then he got beat. Also, T.Y. Hilton's one of the fastest receivers in the league when he was in his prime. And, when someone plays flat-footed in your face, lined up at you, and you just have to make one move and do a straight go route, it's very easy to get past them if you get them off their track a little bit. That's why playing flat foot as a DB is a very poor technique. You could ask people in college. A lot of people in college do it on goal lines. They play flat-footed, then the receiver cuts a certain way, and they're stuck. It's almost like a goalie on a penalty shot. It's not it's not a winning position in football. Some people disagree with me. I have that opinion. Multiple people do. Let's see the comments for that. But yeah, Dallas pulled this win out. It shows me that we could beat them. I think with Jalen Hurts, I think we could have still beat them. I think the outcome would have been the same. I'm excited to see them in the divisional round after if we make it past the Buccaneers. But there's a lot of growing points here. The defense, though, it can't give up 34 points. It just comes down to the fact that they're playing the back secondary is just beat up with injuries. Like, you let 100 yards between Smith and Brown, like, it can't happen. But we have room to grow, and we can win with a bad defense now. So that's good to know.
All right.
Effort to win with that bad defense, though.
Yeah, definitely needed effort.
That's the same thing I'm saying, though. Like, you shouldn't need that to win every game. Like, this is we're not playing Big 12 football, bro. Like, this is the NFL. like you can't be giving up 34, 40 points. Like, both defenses got embarrassed. I mean, I hope they're like doing their homework this week.
I agree, but if you really think about it, like, we're the first and second best offenses in the NFC, but third, I would say, being the Vikings. Like, this is just the NFL now. Like, any great defense, like, think about it. Like, the 49ers are a fantastic defense, and a couple of weeks ago, the Seahawks, I think, put up 13 points on them, which, you're saying is, oh, 13 points, but like it's 13 points. Like this was 34. Some people, Detroit is a great offense. They played a good defense and they shellacked them. Like it's just the way the league is now that a great defense it's so hard to keep teams from scoring points now.
I slightly agree with you, but I think like we saw the Chiefs and the Bills play earlier this year, and that game was 24-21. Like that feels more like two defenses who stepped up against two offenses to me,
Oh, yeah.
But like, so I mean, like, if this game was like 24-27 or like 24-21, like I wanted to blink, but 40-34, I'm just like, come on, man.
No, I agree. I also attested though to kickers getting a lot more accurate from the distance now. Like if you really look at the game, like Philadelphia only scored 21 points from extra points and touchdowns. The rest 13 points, came and the pick six. Take that pick six out. Now you got a good amount of points from field goals. Dallas had 12 points from field goals. When you have accurate kickers like that, all you have to really do is you're starting off at the 25 if you're down it in the end zone on a kickoff. All you have to do is convert 2 or 3 first downs and you can kick a field goal now.
Well, regardless, I think the big thing is that, and as mentioned, that it seems the defenses need to do their homework in these next 2 weeks, and securing playoff berths for both teams. They could take it easy, and we'll ultimately see what they do about that. Alex, do you have any other comments regarding this match before we move on?
No, I agree with both what Brian and Desmond said. Just watching the game, I mean, both defenses need to tighten up going into the home stretch here before the playoffs. You can't have that, especially against some of these top offenses. I just completely agree with Gardner Minshew. I mean, that's why I picked the Eagles to win. I thought they were going to win. I think he's a servable quarterback, and he proved it. I think teams are going to be interested in him in the offseason. I know we're probably going to have a lot of Jets talk. I think that could be a person that they might look after, but that could be someone. I think he just showed that he is capable. If there's a good amount of weapons and a good team in front of him, like the Eagles, like they have, he can be serviceable. So that was really my key takeaway was he kept the team in the game, didn't really have anything too crazy, and they could have walked away with a win. But, Dallas's offense proved to make the key plays down the stretch in order to win that game. So it was a great matchup. I had a lot of fun watching it. But my key takeaway, at least for me, from what you guys said, is Gardner Minshew could be a starter in the next year, just the way he played.
Nice prove-it game for him. Don't disagree there. And we hope to see that handsome son of a bitch get a team next year to start it off. So why don't we talk about what Alex just mentioned in Thursday Night Football, the Jets and the Jaguars, as unforgiving in football conditions as you asked for. It felt like the temperature in the teens. It was raining, wind was gusting, foggy, and somehow the team from Jacksonville, Florida steps up in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Jacksonville wins 19-3. Zach Wilson, ugly a game as you can ever ask for, going only 9 for 18, 92 yards, an interception, and he was just eaten up alive. He was destroyed by his teammates probably after the game, definitely destroyed by the fan base, and when they needed him to step up the most, and they are so lucky, teams like Miami lost, New England lost, to keep them in the playoff race, but Zach Wilson failed as New York Jets quarterback, and this game proved it once and for all. And when your third string quarterback is your leading rusher at 54 yards, that's how you know it was as bad as it got. And like I said, the Jets are just so lucky that teams in the hunt as well lost. So, wow. Where do I go? Do you guys want to go positive first or negative? Because on the positive side, Jacksonville can control their destiny by winning out, and they can secure a division in the AFC South. How about that if they can pull it off? Trevor Lawrence, each game goes by in his sophomore season, looks better and better. And, how Evan Ingram re-evolved and played a great game, was the only capable receiver. ETN had a good game as well. Clearly, the defense for Jacksonville had a great game, even if Zach Wilson helped them out there. positives and negatives. Let's just harp on the negatives. Zach Wilson is donezo. And
How's that a negative?
it's negative if you're a Jets fan for the hope that this was the guy who anybody who actually believed this guy from the Mountain West Conference was somehow going to take the reins as the New York Jets quarterback and take the team to the promised land, but only has caused tension and frustration and just major disappointments. That's the negative aspect if you're a Jets fan, that this guy really did fail. And they don't know what Joe Douglas saw in him. Was it really just one viral video, a really good pro day that had you now? You could have had Jalen Hurts, you could have had Justin Fields, but you have Zach Wilson and just a revolving door of failed draft Jets quarterbacks, especially at the number 2 overall pick position. I mean, wow, didn't you? I swear you guys must have saw this coming, like I did. And I did archive see and I saw in the 2021 NFL preview, I said Zach Wilson is the guy, and I just wish I harped on that more. But I just think we saw this coming. I mean, this guy acted like his shit don't stink. You had that story about him messing around with MILFs, and he didn't back it up. Maybe for 1 second in the game against Pittsburgh, you thought he did, but no. All the Jets win that he was the starting quarterback was a result of mostly the defense playing well and his weapons around him. And the only difference between him and like a Mark Sanchez is it seemed that Mark Sanchez at least had a backbone. He didn't, and it seems that it's over for him. And we'll see if Joe Douglas can get a second-round pick for him, if anything.
Yeah. You go, Alex.
Okay, I was going to say, you can roll back last week. What did I say? Zach Wilson is the Darko Milicic. And I'm not saying that because they're both number 2 picks and all that stuff, right? But it's because everyone knows, if you're an NBA fan, I'm obviously an NBA fan, I work for the NBA. But if you know the story of Darko Milicic, it was that loaded 2003 draft class. The Pistons had the 2nd pick in the draft. They got enamored by the workout of Darko Milicic, and they took him. And then he got to the NBA, and he just couldn't evolve. He just couldn't, perform at the NBA level. And then all the talent after him are all pretty much first ballot Hall of Famers, right? And that was his story. Zach Wilson, to me, is the same thing. We all got enamored by his workout, by his pro day, by his arm strength, by everything. We're like, oh, this guy can be pretty solid. But then he got to the NFL, and then the true colors came out. This guy can't play at the NFL level. And it's unfortunate. And the Jets got swept up by this workout and this pro day. But at the end of the day, it is what it is with them, and they're stuck with it. And they gave him another year, maybe, and whatever. But at this point right now, he can't play at the NFL level. He can't make the simple throws. His IQ is horrendous. He tries to play hero ball when he doesn't need to play hero ball. There's no system that it looks like will work for Zach Wilson. And then you look at all these random backups coming in for the Jets. And I know I like Mike White. We all in here love Mike White, other than you, Matt, for some reason. But he comes in, he has success. Definitely comes in, he has success, right? And Zach Wilson just can't do that. And I think this is the end of the road for him for the Jets. And like I said, they might keep him around and see if he develops, but he's not the starter next year. They're going to go with a different option. That's what I saw. And the last thing, I'll let you guys talk. Robert Saleh needs to man up and just say Zach Wilson sucks. And I know that it's tough for the head coach to say that. But what I heard on my drive home from that press conference, and I stuck outside MetLife, was that him saying, "Oh, we benched him because our running attack wasn't working, and we thought Strevler would get the running game." Are you out of your mind? Just say he didn't play well, and we have to teach him a lesson that if you don't play well, you go to the bench. And Strevler gave us that spark, and we kept that spark in for the rest of the game. That's all he had to say. But yet he's like, oh, no, Strevler, got the run game going. We're struggling with the run game. That's why we benched Zach. No, just say he just couldn't make the throws needed to win a mandatory win that you guys needed. And you put Strevler, and he was working in the system for that little bit, and that was it. So just a mess over the Jets. I think Zach Wilson's done. He just can't play at the NFL level. It's unfortunate. The Jets waits another high pick on a quarterback that doesn't work, but he can't be the starter next year. I think they're going to go either Mike White or a veteran option, but that's my Jets rant. I'll go to the floor.
It's
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just like what I find aggravating, I think, is just like the fact that he might be a bigger bust than Jamarcus Russell.
Ooh.
And I say that because at least
Man,
Jamarcus
I
Russell
saw
had
those stats.
yeah, Jamarcus Russell had at least one season where he had a TD to interception ratio that was above 1, which means he had 13 TDs to 8 interceptions. Zach Wilson has always been below, a 1-to-1 TD to interception ratio, as in 9 and 11 and 6 and 7 TD to interception ratio. So at least the man was in positive for one season. And you know what? And he played at least like a legit college, kind of schedule and stuff like that. Jamarcus Russell. Zach Wilson's a bum. It's that simple. I personally don't even think he's a serviceable backup in this league, because when it comes to a backup, you sign a backup not to be a developmental player, but to be someone that could step in when your starter is injured and you need someone to manage a game, get a win, or get a very good loss, I always say. So, like, he's not a Chase Daniel. He's not a Case Keenum. He's not a Joe Flacco. I honestly would take Josh Rosen over him, because at least I know Josh Rosen's accurate. The way I see it is this guy's going to be a practice squad guy that is going to be, some type of like gadget guy, or we'll put him in because he has a cannon for a Hail Mary on the team. Maybe he'll get picked up to the Patriots because Mac Jones can't throw a Hail Mary. They'll keep Zach Wilson to throw Hail Marys maybe. But, this guy's going to be out of the league. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, I think of Jamarcus Russell, Johnny Manziel, he's worse than these two guys. Absolutely. Just because they actually put up numbers and had heart and had accountability somewhat. Jamarcus Russell a little bit, not really though. Manziel did, but like Wilson's just not cutting it for me. And also, speaking on Salah, I think it really comes down to there needs to be a separation between GM and coach on actual player personnel decisions, because there's no doubt in my mind that Robert Salah did not want to start Zach Wilson when Mike White got hurt and probably wanted to go to Flacco or Strevler. And Joe Douglas was like, put in my boy that I drafted. I need to keep on giving him chances just to see if it pans out. When, in my opinion, if Salah actually had the ability to, Wilson wouldn't have started after week 4. So I think we need more of a separation in player personnel between GM and let a coach actually coach. And I think this is a prime example of that, because in my opinion, if Strevler does play that game, he did have 9 carries for 54 yards. And he is pretty efficient. And I've seen him when he was on Arizona. He is a decent backup. It would have been a lot closer game.
I think people have been trying to be nice for a while now, but I think the writing's been on the wall. Like, Zach Wilson was never a good quarterback. I think people are just trying to make excuses for him, so on and so forth. But like, I think he had kind of an out when you're saying like, oh, maybe they need a different offensive coordinator. But then when you had Mike White come in and be a better quarterback under the exact same circumstances as him, I think it pretty much has closed the door on his entire case. He completely whiffed this week. And I don't want to give him too much more airtime because it's obvious that he needs to go. It really is. And I think on the Salah thing, my conspiracy theory is that I think that Salah's trying to be a good company man and not throw his front office under the bus, because the more he talks about how bad Zach Wilson is, the more it looks bad on them for drafting him so high. But that's just my take on it.
Good point.
I think the bigger story here is that we are just now seeing the birth of the London Jaguars. And I'm 100% serious about this, because watching that game, it appeared evident to me that Trevor Lawrence is taking a big jump. And the offensive scheme has taken a big jump under Doug Peterson. Like, they didn't score a bunch, but if you just watch how they were executing this offense, it looks so much more clean the way they were using it. I'm thinking about Calvin Ridley being in this offense next year on top of whoever else they might draft. And I think the Jaguars are poised to take over this division. Houston's going to suck for another couple of years, no matter who they draft number 1. The Colts suck and the Titans suck. The Jaguars are going to own this division for the next few years. And when Jacksonville fans still won't show up to that stadium, it'll be the perfect excuse to take that franchise across the Atlantic Ocean over into London, which they've been trying to pitch the Jaguars to London for years now. That's why they get a game over there every single year. So I think Trevor Lawrence and this team are going to own this division for the next few years. The Jaguars look great right now. They're going to the playoffs.
I'd be afraid. I'd be very afraid to play them in a wild card game. They are a sleeper. It's same thing with the Chargers. Like, they got some moxie to them. And Desmond, just thinking about it, does this not look like the Philadelphia Super Bowl team under Doug Peterson, the way they run this offense? Because to me, I see Evan Ingram. I think Dallas Goedert. I see ETN. I think of what's his name? Like, why can't I think of the running back?
Boston Scott.
I think honestly, yeah, I was gonna say Boston Scott is a shifty son of a bitch, and he
Yeah.
reminds me of his elusiveness in those playoff games. Obviously ETN's better, but this team reminds me of a cookie cutter Super Bowl Eagles team, and I wouldn't be shocked if they made a run.
They look good, man.
Defense is playing lights out.
And they're the 4th seed. They would be facing the Ravens in the first game, and Lamar Jackson has been looking suspect even when he has been healthy. I mean, I would not put it past the Jaguars to knock off the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. And I think they have making some noise. I think they have an offense with enough offensive weapons. This is a poor man's Kansas City Chiefs offense right now. If you really look at it, Kirk is Juju Smith. ETN is a mix of Jerick McKinnon and Pacheco. Kirk is Smith. ETN, Ingram's Kelsey. It's Lawrence could be a Pat Mahomes. This is a poor man's Chiefs team. I would take them. I would say that they could go into an Arrowhead, go into Buffalo, and they could have a shootout. I could see it.
Yeah, I'm really liking what I see from Jacksonville. I always thought I didn't like Urban Meyer's hire at all. I was like one of the people, and everyone's like, "Oh, you'd be great," and I was like, "Yeah, no, watch, you'll go up in flames." So went up in flames. When they got Peterson, I was like, "Ooh, this could be a scary team going forward," because I thought he got the shaft with Philly, and he's showing why he's a great head coach. You turn around Trevor Lawrence, like I said, this offense is clicking. The defense has been really, really good. It looks like Trevor Lawrence got his confidence back, which we saw at times last year. He just didn't have anything because the mess that was Jacksonville last year. They're really turning things around, and they're taking the advantage of the Titans having an epic collapse. And I think they're going to be a really, really scary team. And like Desmond said, if they play the Ravens, and Lamar is probably going to be a little bit banged up, and he hasn't played in multiple weeks, Jacksonville can easily take advantage of the way the defense is playing. If they can just contain Lamar, they can have a shootout and win. So I think this Jacksonville team is poised for the playoffs, and I think they're going to be a really, really scary team in the AFC.
So just quick thing before moving on with the Jets. As I mentioned, Jets are still in the hunt. So their scenario at this moment, they have to win out. Patriots have to lose at least one game, either against Miami this week or against Buffalo next week. And that would lead, and especially if the Pats lose, that would lead to a big Jets versus Dolphins, winning you're in, early playoff game, likely on Sunday night. And fun fact, I'm actually going to be at that game.
There we go.
This is my brother that weekend, so I'm going to get lucked out there. So I want it for fun reasons like that. But with this, do you think the 2022 Jets are going to fulfill that? Do you think they're going to beat Seattle this week and beat Miami next week? And do you think the Jets are going to sneak into the playoffs this year and get there for the first time since 2010?
Absolutely. I think Seattle's a cakewalk because of that defense right now. Mike White could shoot it out with Geno Smith in that offense, even though the Seattle offense is good. Lockett's hurt. The O-line has been playing a little under their normal pedigree as of late. And when it comes to the Dolphins, with his third concussion in like 5 weeks, I wouldn't be shocked if they don't play him the rest of the season just because, I don't think you could. So, I really see him missing the rest of the season too. And if that's the case, I have a feeling that the Patriots will lose to Buffalo regardless if they're resting players or not. So I think it's very doable for them. I give my personal opinion. I think they have a 55% chance to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree too. I think they have a decent chance. We have to see how Mike White looks coming off this injury, but the way the team responds when he's at quarterback is way different than we've seen when Wilson has been quarterback. And I think he can guide this offense. His defense is going to be fired up, knowing what's on the line. So I see them having a good chance here to make it. Me personally, I want to see it. I think it was a good story. They've had a good start of the season, and now they're hitting this wall, and they can break through it and finally make the postseason. I think that'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, I think like Brian said, there's a lot of opportunities, and with Tua now not potentially playing for the rest of the year, you go into that game with Teddy Bridgewater and that defense, you can make some noise and go out and win some games. So I think they have a good shot here. They just need some lucky breaks, and I think those breaks can happen for them.
I think it's the Dolphins because I think Tua is going to play that last game of the season, and I think that because I think the Dolphins have no respect for his health whatsoever. I think they're going to push him to be out there in week 18. I think that he wants to play and doesn't understand that he's in a very vulnerable position. So I don't think that he'll say no to that opportunity. And while I think he should be shut down for the year because I think his brain needs at least 9 months of healing, I sincerely doubt that the Dolphins are actually going to like incentivize that decision. I think they're going to push him to be out there for that final game of the season. And I think if he's out there, I think this Dolphins team is too much for this Jets team.
Just going off that. Don't you think the NFL is going to have to step in at some point with this?
You would think in an ideal world, right?
Yeah.
Though, have you ever thought to yourself, the NFL is a really stand-up organization that always makes the right decision?
No, I know. It's actually like
it's just terrifying. They won't step in.
It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting, like watching this kid, because he knows if he doesn't play that last game, he might never get a starting position ever again because he's had a suspect performances since getting that second concussion, and they're going to blame it not on the concussion, just the overall performance. Because if you're not really hurt, if you could play it, you know what I mean? That's always the phrase: are you hurt or you're injured? Well, if you were injured, you wouldn't be able to play. So you're hurt, which means you could suck it up and play. And he played bad, so they're not going to account it for the injury. But it's literally his brain, the cerebral part of playing quarterback, that's numb for the last 2 months of the season. And if he doesn't play, he won't ever get a starting position again, most likely. But if he does play, he could literally die. So, it's really sad that, like, this Dolphins organization should honestly, like, the owner needs to go anyway off the field shit that happened this offseason. Like, the Brian Flores alone, like, that he should have got ridiculed after, like, firing that man after doing a great job down there and building that culture. It's just really sad to see the predicament that kid is in because he's honestly, like, he's stuck. He has no ability to, like, there's no right answer for him.
Yeah. I'm just scared though, because, like, I know I get it what you're saying, Brian, that this could be his last.
I think of Ryan Shazier. I think of one hit and he's gonna literally be dead on the field.
And I think that's why I think the NFL his family needs to step in. Like, someone has to step in and just say, like, Tua, like, I think there's enough on paper that he could get another gig somewhere. But, like, this is this guy's life on the line.
Yeah.
He gets hit, like you said, bro. He gets hit one more time, he could die. He could be paralyzed. His career could be. There's so many different things that can happen here, and I think someone needs to step up and just say,
"Yeah, I don't think death. I don't think death. Maybe
someone has to protect him.
But he could get severe brain damage. Like he could hemorrhage. There's so many different things.
And bad long-term
effects. Someone
exactly.
Has to protect him. Like we all played sports.
He should not play the rest of the year.
We all have that mindset. Like, we've all sprained our ankles. We've all jammed our fingers. We've all done different things. And we're like, yeah, we're good. But sometimes our body is like, hey, like,
I'm not good.
Actually, we're not.
I'm not good. Like, that's where, like everyone's saying, it's like, we all know Tua wants to be out there. We all know that. But, like, everyone has to step in there and be like, we understand you want to be out there, but for your livelihood, you need to sit the rest of the year. And then everyone has to step in and do the same thing. Like, we love that you're competitive and you want to be out there, but, like, you need to stop. Like, there has to be something that they say, like, he can't play the rest of the year regardless because of all these concussions he had this season alone. Like, it's just that's where I think someone has to just at least say something. The Dolphins, whoever. Just stop.
And the crazy thing is that he keeps on hurting the same spot of the head, if you're noticing, that back of the head. And, like, it's a different story if you got a concussion in the front lobe and in the back lobe and in the side. Like, his brain is hitting the back on the back side and then bouncing back and hitting the front of his head. Like, it's going, like, in multiple times now. So it's the same spot. It's concentrated trauma to both the frontal and the cortex and the back part. I forget the name of it, but it's like, decision making is one of them, I'm pretty sure. So, like, the frontal cortex, and that's the rebound spot of him getting hit back, which has the more force. So if you really think about it, this man can't make a decision on the field anyway, especially now. Like, you gotta let him sit.
Yeah, and I think that those, and just a quick, all the playoff scenarios, I think Jets beat Seattle, but they'll lose to Teddy Bridgewater on that Sunday night, the last game of the year. Miami will sneak in. So to keep on keeping on with Miami, might as well talk about the Packers and Dolphins on Christmas. I think the best game in a football stance, Aaron Rodgers, looking like the old Aaron Rodgers, and finally connecting with his receivers, wins his Packers win their third game in a row. I didn't know about that 15-game winning streak in the Aaron Rodgers era on December games. That's impressive. Too bad I don't have Alex to debate. The other Alex to debate Aaron Rodgers, being the Aaron Rodgers apologist here. But pretty impressive games for the Packers lately, even if it's too late. Just to say their playoff scenarios, they need a win out. They need Giants to lose out. Then Washington to lose once. And that's how they will get in. Very hard. I don't think that's going to likely happen. But with the Packers making at least a nice end of the year push, meaningful December games, do we give any credit to the improvements, whether it means jobs are being saved, whether it means maybe the Packers see, hey, maybe we'll finally get some receivers that you legitimately need, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Do we see anything out of that from this past game on Christmas Day with the Packers side of things, since we focused on the Dolphins before?
So I'm going to do a complete Uno reverse card for what I've been saying most of the season. I think I've come to the realization that this Green Bay Packers team to blame is not the receivers or Aaron Rodgers, but it's the coaching. I think Matt LaFleur is a bad head coach. I don't think he can make game time decisions. I think his offense is not it doesn't work in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers made it work. There was interviews in the preseason and over the summer on how Aaron Rodgers hates this offense, and he grew up in the West Coast offense and the spread offense and spread offenses, and he wanted to run that. And this offense is more on cadences and timing, and that's not a style that he likes. He likes creativity and being able to fly off the handle, throw his sidearm throws that we all love to see. I think that for the players they have, I don't think it fits the scheme that LaFleur wants to run, and that's why I think it's been a mess. Like, in my opinion, Aaron Jones is the most I think he's a top 5 athlete in the NFL, and he's one of the most undervalued, underutilized players by this franchise. Same thing with Devontae Adams. Like, they just waste talent if you look at the consistent years for the Packers organization. But I think LaFleur's not the guy here. I think they got to get rid of him and rebuild this defense. But I don't see them making the playoffs. But I think that they need a change at the coaching position.
Yeah, so you almost feel like it was Aaron Rodgers just like, you know what, I'm going to just take over the rest of the season. It's not like an angry high school player. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had enough after Thanksgiving hit, and he says, well, fuck it. If I get traded, who cares? And if we don't make the playoffs, we're not going to make the playoffs anyway. So, like, let me at least play the way I could play. I know how to play and try to make something of this. And he has. And out of nowhere, when he started, if you notice, he starts making audibles in certain games and starts, playing his razzle-dazzle kind of way. And Christian Watson out of nowhere becomes this, like, high-ended player. So, maybe there's some people, I always explain it. So look at people in the real world in jobs, right? There's some people that fit into the mold of working 9 to 5, and and they love that job. They fill their role. And there's other people that can work a 9 to 5. They work outside the zones of the usual work kind of day. They don't want a boss. They want to be their own person. They want to be their own company. Independent entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And those people flourish by themselves and they make creative things. He's like that kind of guy, Aaron Rodgers, and this system does not fit him. They're trying to put a square in a circle peg hole like you were in kindergarten. It's just not working. And I think, he's too valuable of an asset that I think coaching's going to have to go.
He did say at 4-8, I still believe this team can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think they're making the playoffs, but it's good to see Rodgers being Rodgers, and I agree with Brian. I think there's going to probably be a change to the head coach. I think people are starting to realize that Rodgers, like most times, elevated the coaching staff. You can argue later on, with his former head coach being there, with McCarthy, like he did the same thing. Now here, he's doing the same thing, and they're having an off year, and they haven't really done much to change anything, and now Rodgers has gone back to, you know what, I'll just do what I need to do. And like Brian said, Watson's gone up. The offense has looked a lot better. But I think there's just going to be another change. And they realize they have a short window here. And can the Packers finally wake up? They are a marquee team in this league. Can you finally put some more talent around your marquee quarterback, a first ballot Hall of Famer? I doubt it because it's the Packers. They just don't want to do that. But can they eventually please do that so that we can have one good final Aaron Rodgers run? Because, like I said, I was thinking Rodgers was shot, but these last few games, I'm like, I think there's other things happening here. And now we're kind of seeing that. And I think once they maybe clear house, we'll see, or they finally realize maybe we should go to the offense that caters Rodgers best. Maybe they'll take off again, have the Super Bowl run. But for right now, I think there's a lot of question marks. They're not going to make the playoffs, but it's good to see at least Rodgers and this offense starting to click late in the year, because maybe next year they'll be a top offense again.
Can we talk about who the Packers have beat the last few games here? Who did they beat?
Yes.
It was it the Rams and the Bears? Are we really starting to? Are we going to start bringing out the parade for the Packers for beating the Rams and the Bears? No. I'm glad the Packers got one on Christmas. Green Bay has a huge fan base in this country. That's the last game they're going to win this season, and I hope that for America's sake, I guess, because everyone loves the Packers, that either Aaron Rodgers goes to a better team next year, or they finally bring someone who can actually be a top 10 receiver to Green Bay. I mean, they had Devontae Adams for a long time, but they needed two. You can't survive on just one good receiver. You need multiple weapons on any offense. Like every team that is going to the Super Bowl has to have at least like two like serviceable number one options.
Not
and
the
if
Cowboys.
I was gonna say, and if you don't, then you're in trouble. So yeah, they don't even have one number one option on this team right now. I think that people are going to make a big deal about, the Vikings, they don't really win in Green Bay that often. They haven't played outside since like in almost 2 months now. But, I'm starting to back off the Vikings hate train a little bit. Like they're what, 10-0 in one score games. If it's a one score game,
11 now. 11.
Yeah, they got you. If it's a one score game, they got you. Just like call it a night. You're done. So I mean, I don't see it. I don't see the Packers winning both these games, let alone even one of these games. I think Detroit gets them in week 18. So yeah, it was a good story for a while it lasted. Packers season's over. Aaron Rodgers, the Jets need a quarterback.
I think he's staying there at this rate. I can't see him leaving Green Bay.
The Jets will pay anything. They don't know what they're doing.
They'll pay anything to get him.
I'll tell you this. He might go to the Raiders. If Carr's gone, if Carr leaves or gets traded, he might just say, I want to go up to Devontae. Or if Carr leaves, Packers might call up and be like, you want those picks back? Because you're in a rebuild and we want Devontae Adams back.
That'd be so interesting.
Because
Devontae might be calling back to go back to Green Bay. Like that could be an interesting
especially if Carr's leaving, which we know.
That's why he's signed there.
Carr's gonna listen. Realistically, Carr's gonna probably go to the Redskins, or he'll go to the Redskins.
No.
Something
he's
like that.
He's going to the Colts. We all know this.
Yeah, we all know that.
I don't want that for Derek Carr. But like I'm looking at the free agency. So I'm looking at the free agency receivers to 2023, and like it's bad. Like it's Aguilar, Shepard, Chark, Cobb, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, Alan Lazard, Jacoby Myers. That'd be a good pickup, maybe. Juju Smith, N'Keal Harry. Like there are some nobodies in this wide receiver free agency. So it's like they have to go to the draft, or they're gonna have to make some kind of a trade. But in my opinion, like Christian Watson, I don't think Christian Watson's that good. I think he's a byproduct of Aaron Rodgers slinging it right now, and doing his thing finally, because Aaron Rodgers can make anything. He can make a Chef Boyardee sound like it's from Rayo's. You know what I mean? He can make something shit turn into fantastic, and that's what he's done his entire career. So it might just be that they might strengthen up the defense and go to the draft instead of free agency, or try to pull like a guy like, honestly,
Terrell Owens.
Yeah, 49. Yeah, but like you gotta think. So you gotta think about certain teams. So like if the Chargers might have to blow it up this offseason, Keenan Allen's aging, you might pick him up. If Tampa Bay might be in a selling market this offseason, if Brady leaves, Mike Evans, Godwin, like those are things you might have to look in. They're gonna have to prize someone and pay a premium to get a top receiver, and that's just the name of the game right now.
Yeah, and also it is fair to say what it seems to be the moment Tua got hurt was when he threw 3 interceptions back to back to back drives. And besides that, though, with the Dolphins holding it down, we already talked about Tua issues and how vital the quarterback position is to the Miami team. But besides that, and seeing how many of these crucial losses they have gotten in the final few weeks of the season, and now it seems that even though I think he's just a cool ass dude in the sense of cool ass dudes and Mike McDaniels, it seems that he doesn't really have his team put together right now. Even if they somehow sneak into the playoffs, it can't be a long run.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the defense is just too weak. They have no backbone. They're a defense that only thrives when they're up by a lot due to the offense, and then they can turn the ball over just out of desperation by their opposing quarterbacks just throwing it around. Yeah, I see this team as a one and out team, nothing special right now. Tua's health obviously is the main factor. I'm also a little aggravated with the running back by committee by this team because I really think that Jeff Wilson really isn't all that crazy. He's more of a gets yards by the sheer amount of carries he gets. And that's what happened on the 49ers, and he really didn't do that. He hasn't really done as well as he should on the Dolphins. And in my opinion, I think their best athlete outside of Waddle and Tyreek Hill is Raheem Mostert. And, we saw him in Buffalo go off. I think he needs to get the more dominant carries. He can't only have 8 carries in a game for them to, and then lose. He needs to get 15 carries a game in order for them to be successful. That's how dynamic he is. So I want to see them with Teddy Bridgewater in to rely more on the run game.
All right. So let's talk about the Giants and the Vikings right now. Oh, man, what a game. Hard to say. Was this a good game? It was fine. It was frustrating for a Giants fan, and it had good aspects, like Daniel Jones having a 300-plus yard game, which is a beautiful sight to see. We saw Saquon Barkley holding it down, and then we saw a lot of other players dropping the ball, especially Richie James, crucial drops. That's frustrating. I mean, one thing it seems that that they were able to stay in this game at one point, but then Justin Jefferson, if just Justin Jefferson wasn't on the Vikings, I think the Giants would have pulled this off. But there's a reason why he's one of the best receivers in the league, and it's because he's a game changer. And then despite that, and the Giants going in to tie after, what are you going to do when a guy in Greg Joseph kicks a 61-yard field goal? Heartbreaking, even with the Giants covering. It was just a hard-fought game that we still should have won, and we know who to blame for that. But at least in these final 2 games, if the Giants just win one of the next 2 games, they get the secure playoff spot, and they'll get there in the first time since 2016. I'll throw it to the best Giants fan I know, and Alex. What was your of this game?
It was nice to have the family there to watch it, but at the end it was brutal. The realization of that, just because it seems over the last years, every close game for the Giants, at least something like this where they play a really good opponent, ends with a bomb of a field goal. I just want to know the stat of how many Giant losses.
Gano did it to us.
Yeah, Gano did it to us. I think Sly did it one year. There's someone else. Like all bombs, field goals. But beside the point, I'm happy the Giants showed up. And they looked really solid on the ball. I would love a rematch against the Vikings in the playoffs. I think the Giants could have that game. Like you said, Richie James had a bunch of drops. One bad Daniel Jones throw. I mean, that was just a good jump on the ball. Nothing you really can do there. But overall, this assessment I felt was positive.
Yeah.
No, I was middle of the road on Daniel Jones. Going into this year, it was make or break year. I'm still a little up and down, but I think after this game, he could be our guy. For the price
Yeah.
tag, I don't know. I'm not the type of guy to think. I'm not the type of person like Matt. You listen to WFN here on the radio all the time. Like, there's people calling saying that he needs like $50 million a year, and like he's going to take that. He's not going to take that. No, he's going to probably demand the average, which is going to be around 28 to 30. Do we give him that? I don't know. But
even off a franchise tag, do that and give him at least one more year with that large salary.
This is my idea and we could talk about this the offseason for the Giants when we hit that. But my idea is you franchise Saquon because it's just a little bit of less money, and you work on an extension with Daniel. And if that's like 3 years between 25 to 29 to 30 million, whatever, or whatever you want, I think he's done enough to do that because I think he's done a lot with less, which is shocking. He's having a really, really solid year, and he has no wide receiver one. The one wide receiver one we have, he sits on the bench and gets paid $18 million a year. The one guy who's been one of our best receivers this year came off a waiver wire by the Bills in Isaiah Hodgins, who's gone off.
Yeah, he's turned into a little star.
Richard James he's up and down, and Darius Slayton's been our most consistent, but he has, I think, the second highest drop rate in the NFL still, but he's shown up when it's mattered most of the time. So I think he deserves to be our guy. Going into the playoffs, I'll have confidence. I don't think we're going to win one. The team still has a lot of holes that need to be filled, but just watching this game, seeing Daniel drive down the field, make the plays he needed, get the touchdown, get the 2-point conversion. It seems the team loves him. I think there's a lot of positives going forward. Like I said, I think the future is bright. I think just getting into the playoffs is just a cherry on top to the season. I don't think me and you, Matt, thought, or you guys thought the Giants were going to be postseason. They have a perfect opportunity against the weak Colts team to do that. I think they will. But overall, looking at this game, I was just very happy to see what Daniel's shown time in and time out the season, is that he can do well as a quarterback, even with awful talent around him, just because of how Daboll and the offensive coordinator have schemed to make him have success on the field week in and week out.
Yeah, that's the one thing to get out of it is Daniel Jones. This was his respect game, at least. And as long as he prevents those turnovers, I know he had an interception, but that was his first one in 5 weeks. And we could take that as another positive. I knew just he was running for that first down, and then that head shoulder against the defensive back for the Vikings. I was like, you know what? Give this guy another year. He has balls. I definitely was a hater at first. When we didn't get the other Josh Allen in that draft, I was upset. But you know what? It took 5 years, but I am happy that Daniel Jones is a New York Giants quarterback. And that's what I can take out of this game. And yeah, just win one more game. And if you could do it at home, especially our last home game of the season this Sunday, huge cherry on top, as you said, Alex.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you guys. I think would be my ideal plan for the Giants. I would, sign Daniel Jones to like a 2-year, $50 million deal, 25 a year, middle of the pack. Hopefully he takes that. In the second year, it could be like a team option where you could cut him basically. I would franchise tag Saquon Barkley, and then you're gonna have a middle to like early 20s first round pick. I pick up Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, in the first round, because Barkley's is waiting for another injury. This is he's just injury prone. Running backs don't last. It's almost like what the Titans did with DeMarco Murray and then Derrick Henry, where DeMarco Murray had those 2 seasons, still put up 1,000 yards each, and then Henry came in. You get a stud like Robinson in the first round and the late round for that. You have your guy Barkley. You could do a 1-2 punch like Elliott and Pollard, and then you could then see how Jones does, build your receiving core, and then in the next couple of drafts, then you could find your guy. You never know. You might be able to get Arch Manning when he comes out of college. So, you have a lot of potential, but I think right now keeping Jones and trying to find another running back in the draft might be a good idea. You just need athletes, and right now your identity is run the fucking ball. You know what I mean? Get the first downs, 3 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. That's your goal. That's all you need. And I think that's what they should continue to do. When it comes to the Vikings, TJ Hawkinson, What a game.
Oh my God.
Two great touchdown catches, like amazing. Giants, in my opinion, deserve to win this game, though, just because of the heart they played. But unfortunately, the Vikings just are it this season. They can just win one-score games. So you better hope you have two touchdowns in a 2-minute drill against them, or you're going to lose this game. Kirk Cousins, we shit on him all the time. I still think his stats are inflated because of yards after the catch and not true air yards. So be it. But he's finding ways to win. And honestly, the way he's playing, like, if people do bad, he could be, I bet he'll get some MVP votes this season. I wouldn't be shocked. So kudos to the Vikings on a good win.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it quick here. Giants, I really hope that this is your scenario right here. I hope that you beat the Colts and then lose the Eagles in week 18 because you don't want to be the 6th seed. You don't want to go to San Francisco. You want to go back to Minnesota. I think I said this at the end of last week's episode. You're going to probably lose this game close, but get the blueprint for how to beat this team. And I would think that after how closely you played the Vikings this week, you got a pretty strong feeling that you can go back in there and actually win next time. So I it sounds weird to say like, hey, you should sit all your players week 18, but I think you should, because I don't think you want to go to San Francisco. I think you want to go back to Minnesota. You have a good chance to beat the Vikings in the first round. I would be excited to watch that game. I think that should be the game we actually do a live stream on personally. But with all that being said, Vikings, they're playing great right now. That fan base is for real. I think I will take back a little bit of my hate for Kirk Cousins, just a little bit. I still want to see him prove it in the playoffs, but yeah, man, I think Vikings in a 1-score game. I mean, I've never seen it's never happened before, right? The team go 11-0 in one season in 1-score games. That's a new NFL record.
I think so.
Yes,
that's incredible.
I saw that.
That's incredible. Just end it right there.
All right. So we're very excited for the future there. Bengals and the Patriots. Bengals did a Chiefs this week. Have an incredible first half, almost blow it in the second half. They looked like they were dominating New England, but the Patriots made a push, but screwed up at the end there, but ultimately leads to a 22-18 victory for Cincinnati, securing their playoff position. Cincinnati, what is this? Their 6th win in a row or 7th?
Something like that. I'll check. It is their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th win.
There you go. 7 wins in a row. And this team is as hot as it comes. I mean, what else is there to add? Where T. Higgins is looking marvelous, trying to get to be an equivalent to Jamar Chase. Joe Cool knows how to use all his other options as well, whether it's Trent Irwin or stuff like that. Joe Mixon having another stellar game himself, putting the Bengals in good positions. And then on the Patriots side, even putting out a fight in the end with Mac Jones, aka the dirtiest player in the NFL right now. I think, as I mentioned, the Patriots are having dysfunction and just things aren't working. And again, when you have players and coaches hating each other, like Matt Patricia and Mac Jones, it's a recipe for disaster. I don't see the Patriots winning out for the rest of the season. They're still in the hunt technically, but they're not going to be the ones to sneak in the playoffs when it's all said and done.
No, this Patriots team is extremely flawed. I don't think they're winning another game this season. I don't even want to focus on them. Just turn the page. This season's done for them. Bengals. Are the Bengals the best team in the league right now? Kind of feels that way. It really does. I
agree.
mean, as far as like complete top to bottom, like every position, both sides of the ball, I think the Bengals got to feel like the Super Bowl favorites right now, not just to get there, but to win. So I could not be more hyped for watching this final Monday night game of the year. The Bills and the Bengals in Cincinnati. I can't wait to see it. In fact, I don't even want to focus on this game. I just want to get talking about that game. So I'm just going to cut it off right there, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
On me.
Looking forward to that too. I think all of us are not surprised, but just their slow start with the Super Bowl hangover, if you will, even though they lost. And a lot of people say it's really tough to come back from that. And they're showing that they're back from that. and if not better. They're just such a very, very balanced team. They've bounced back from adversity time in and time out. They're just clicking on all cylinders right now. I think they're showing that they're probably the most dangerous team in the AFC, if not the best team in the AFC right now, top to bottom, and that includes the Bills and the Chiefs. So I'm excited to see how these next few weeks go. They could probably just keep on winning and go into the playoffs hot. I could see that, and I think they're a team that I'm definitely going to be tuning in for the rest of the season, just with how they've been playing so far. It's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I hope they lose to the Bills, though, because I feel like it's always in this next week, because I always feel like it's hard to beat an opponent twice in such a short amount of time, just because of it's just, you're studying game film and stuff like that, and you're really doing your homework. And yeah, so I think they'll lose and then beat them in the AFC Championship if that's how it works out. But I have the Bengals going to the Super Bowl again. I believe in Joe Cool. I think he has all the intangibles. Patrick Mahomes might be better, but I think the clutch factor is so much stronger with Joe Burrow than any other quarterback in the league right now. In my opinion, he has 3 number 1 receivers on his team in Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. I think Hayden Hurst is a top 15 tight end. Anyone could be a top 15 tight end outside Kelsey and Andrews, really. But I think he legit is, he's actually a former baseball player, actually. But that's side note. But I think, the running game with Mixon and Perrine, they just have too many weapons. And the secondary is legit. Eli Apple was underrated this year. A lot of people gave him smack. He's playing lights out, in my opinion. And Von Bell is one of the best ball hawking and hard hitting safeties in the league, him and Jesse Bates. So I just don't see anyone. They're the most complete team. I just don't see anyone beating them bad.
One final note. The biggest fans of the Bengals this week are not in Cincinnati. They are in Kansas City, because the Chiefs have 2 weak divisional opponents to end the year, and they probably are foaming at the mouth to watch the Bengals beat the Bills, because that means the number 1 seed for the Chiefs this year.
We know how good they are in the playoffs at home, with the exception of some bad losses there. They usually prefer to stay there. And I don't even know I don't think Patrick Mahomes has ever played a road playoff game so far in his career.
No.
So
Is he not?
we'll keep that going.
No, he hasn't.
Damn.
Unless you count the Super Bowl, but no.
No. That's new.
But yeah, never played a road playoff game. How about that? The Bills played the Bears. The Bills whipped the Bears 35-13. Justin Fields, that's it. He's nice. He's really good. Bills are really, really good. It just sucks they don't have Von Miller. But that's all I have to say about this game.
Yeah. At first, I thought the Bills were going to be stuck with trap game because it was looking a little ugly for them, and then they just clicked on all cylinders and took it off. That's my only takeaway. That they just put it on because they're a great team, and that's what great teams do. They beat up on the bad opponents even after a slow start. So yeah.
I think,
the Bears are 0 now, are 0-7 or 0-6 since Chase Claypool's joined.
Yeah, I love that. I think we've all been saying one thing about the Bills this year that's always been their negative, and that's the run game. And they've consistently in the last few weeks have ramped it up and have really been playing well. The duo of Singletary and Cook is amazing. They both are very complementary of each other, similar styles. It's very trend. You could put them in and out. They're third down backs. They could hit heavy north and south on first and second downs or short yardage. My issue, in my opinion, with the Bills is Josh Allen, and he constantly just looks like not in sync with his receivers since he got hurt. In my opinion, like Stephon Diggs hasn't really played that well in a couple of weeks, in my opinion. Gabe Davis is such a weird player. He either gets 2 touchdowns and like 150 yards, or he gets like 3 for 45, or he gets no catch at all. He's very weird. Fun fact though, Gabe Davis in the entire season, except since like week 3, every third game of the season, he scores a touchdown. So wild card week, he will score a touchdown. Just calling that out if they play in the wild cards. That's my hot take. That's my prop. Will score a touchdown wild card if they because Chiefs will get the first seed. But yeah, like they're not in sync, and I don't think they're as good as people say. I don't see them as a Super Bowl team just because of the inconsistencies, and I think Josh Allen has taken a step back under Ken Dorsey as an OC. So I could see them trying to get him a new QB coach or maybe someone in there, maybe a better backup to like develop him more like a veteran. But I think he's still raw and needs help.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick on this one. I have drafted Stephon Diggs, my number one player this year in fantasy. So I've been always paying attention to the Bills games with much interest. And for whatever reason, Josh Allen has just not been looking his way a lot the last like few games. Honestly, it's kind of started around
Especially this last game too.
Around Thanksgiving. I felt like this started. It's kind of been going ever since then. He's just been looking for basically everyone on the field except for Stephon Diggs. And I don't really understand why when he was such a heavy target base, but it just tells me that they're changing some things on offense, and Josh Allen really hasn't quite caught up to whatever the new plan is just yet. And yeah, like Brian was saying, they seem a little like just discombobulated out there, which is kind of why I've taken a step back on thinking that they're the Super Bowl favorites right now, because offense just does not look as fluid and consistent as it was in the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The Saints played the Browns. Saints somehow, as a dome team, went into the freezing rotunda known as Cleveland, Ohio, and went in their house and embarrassed them. I think Deshaun Watson is clearly not good at this moment or anymore. I mean, another terrible game for him. The only thing to be positive about with Cleveland was their running game, and that was still mid. And yeah, the Saints trying to make a push, even though with the Bucs win last week, the Bucs just beat Carolina this week. They locked the division, but at least the Saints trying to make a push in a meaningful game for them, and you can respect that.
This team would be in wild card contention if Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback for the Bengals game and every game going forward from that, including this game. They would have beat the Bengals. They would have beat the Saints because it's the way the game was going. Even though it was 23-10 against the Bengals, they just had inconsistent quarterback play that game. That really cost them that game. Same thing here. Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, I personally think that this might be a worse signing than the Russell Wilson signing, in my opinion, just because of the sheer fact that, Deshaun Watson is in his prime. Like, Russell Wilson was always going to be a bad contract because he's basically past his prime, and he was getting a big contract, and it wasn't ever going to pan out correctly, regardless if he played well this season. Deshaun Watson is supposed to be in his prime right now. These are the prime years for Deshaun. He's supposed to be putting up 4,500 passing yards, 35 TDs, and 15 interceptions. That's his kind of guy, putting up 600 yards rushing and like 6 touchdowns. And we're not seeing it. I'm a little worried that this scheme does not fit Deshaun Watson. He never had a heavy run scheme in the Texans in Houston. It never happened. You know what I mean? They had Lamar Miller and like Marlon, and then Lamar Miller and like Alfred Blue, I think, were the 2 running backs while he was there. Nothing crazy, but he had Will Fuller, Braxton Miller, Ryan Griffin at tight end. He had dudes that could make plays and have separation in the passing game. And yes, Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, great. Amari Cooper is a great separation guy. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a great deep threat guy. But I don't see enough shifty skill kind of guys like Will Fuller or this offensive scheme that really fits Deshaun Watson or the players around him. Like having Jarvis Landry on this team would have been huge for Deshaun Watson because he likes to be mobile and escape, and those kind of guys get open for him. So I have a feeling that if this might have to be like some type of a coaching change, not a coaching change, but like philosophy change in the offseason, because they might have to become a little bit more balanced for him to succeed in this at this team.
Look at that. And
yeah, they're passing more than running ever since he's gotten there. And
I see that, but it's still like a heavy run oriented, even the way they pass.
My point was going to say, like, that's not who
scheme.
The Browns are supposed to be. That's not what this team was built for. They were built around Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And now both those backs would take more and more runs out of the shotgun, which is always, is a less effective way of running the football because Deshaun Watson isn't as good under center. They've scored 6, 10, like 13, and then 10 points again offensively in the 4 games that he's been there. If Russell Wilson wasn't such a flame out in Denver, we would be blitzing this guy as being the worst offseason acquisition. And he honestly, he deserves it. He really does. I mean, he looked terrible out there. And I do not understand like what it is that's happening. If it's just, like they're not sure how to scheme it correctly, or if he's just like fallen off that dramatically. But, honestly, they would be in a better position right now if Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback. And I think at the very least, you have to ask Deshaun Watson to get under center and just, like run the ball more. They should be running more than passing. If you're this bad, like coming back off of your 2-year hiatus, then you need to be focusing more on running the football and stop trying to like justify his contract by having him drop back and pass 30 times a game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree. I think it's a lot of different things. I think him not playing for a year, then you have the offense that was doing pretty decent with Jacoby halfway through the year, and then all of a sudden you throw Watson into the equation and you shift everything up. And I think it just caused a lot of disruptions along this offense. And I just think everyone's just confused on what is their identity. And I think it's just because you throw in a new starter that you paid a bunch of money, and now you have to change philosophies halfway through the season when everyone knew that this team could run the ball really well. And now you're passing more. I think it was this year is kind of a weird year, just due to the fact that everything that's going on, but it's also throwing in a starting quarterback halfway through the year and hoping everything clicks. And I think hopefully for Browns fans, Watson works really hard this offseason and comes in ready to go. And like everyone else is saying, if they change their philosophies a little bit to make things a little bit more balanced, or whatever the case might be. But right now it's not working. And I don't know if these next 2 weeks they say, you know what, Deshaun, let's just go back to what was working, and then you can throw here and there and get back into game speed these next few weeks, and then really we can hit the offseason hard and get everything ready to go. Yeah, it's just confusing as this guy was looked at as a top 5 talent when he was in the league, and now he's back and he looks like a bottom tier quarterback. So I think there's a lot of questions with Cleveland. I think there's a lot of just the disruption of just throwing into Watson midway through the year and hope that everyone else gelled around him, and that's just not the case right now.
I'll make this point. When has a pass-oriented quarterback ever done well with a run-first offense with a stud north and south runner in Nick Chubb? In my opinion, the only one I could think is Troy Aikman and Evan Smith.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
You know what I'm saying? So like maybe that's what he should do. Study some Aikman clips, like getting like Deshaun might needs to, his bread and butter will have to be play action.
Yeah.
That's what it's with Nick Chubb there. Like that's the only way to run that offense. So this is why in the off, making a trade like this, you have to look into these intangibles. So I hope they did, but at the same time, it's Deshaun Watson. I don't really give a fuck about him. But let's see him crumble. But at the same time, I feel bad for this Browns team because they have enough players to be a playoff team this year. So it's a shame.
Agreed.
So, next game to discuss right here, right now, we have the Seahawks and the Chiefs. This was going to be a game to bet in favor of the Chiefs because when you saw those players acting like tough guys, shirtless on the field during warm-ups, you knew that they were not going to back that up. And now they have a very tough road ahead and need a lot of help in their playoff scenarios to get a playoff spot. So to first focus on the Seahawks with this. What happened? We were so high on them, Kenneth Walker, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, and they just keep losing. And now they're going to need help. They need to have the Giants, even though they have tiebreakers over Washington and the Giants, they still need them. They have a more complicated scenario. It's not as cutthroat. They obviously have to win out, and the Giants have to lose out, and then and then Washington has to lose at least once. It's more complicated, and but regardless, with the Seahawks on the brink of their disaster, and I think even though for a team that nobody expected, they thought this was going to be a last place team. They thought they were going to be a top 5 pick team. And despite the push that they made, it still would give a sour taste in your mouth, I think, if you're a Seahawks fan. But how do we feel about this, especially for Desmond, I want to throw it to him first, for someone who's very high on this team now. And after this loss against Kansas City, how do you feel about them at this point?
At no point did I ever think they were going to win this game. I mean, you're going to play the Chiefs in Kansas City. I mean, I thought the Seahawks were a bounce back team. I thought earlier that they might go to the playoffs, but I mean, it's a tall task to ask anyone to go into Kansas City and win that game. So I'm not really too down on them for losing this game. But honestly, I think it just really comes down to the fact that the Seahawks have been struggling because, for one, they were a team that was based off balance. Like they were never going to be able to ask Geno Smith to be this, this amazing top 10 quarterback and go out there and light up the league. He was having such high completion percentage and he was having, like a great efficiency because they were able to play a balanced attack where they were able to run the ball a lot, ask him to do short throws, play action off of that. And when you lose your running backs, when your offensive line gets banged up, you're going to take a dip. And he's better than we thought he was, but he's not a top 10 quarterback, if you know what I mean. So it's a little bit in between there with Geno Smith. So yeah, they kind of came a little bit back down to earth, but even at their best, I didn't think they could win this game. I still think they have a chance to get into the playoffs, but I don't like their chances right now. I think my money's on Detroit snagging that last playoff spot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it just comes down to the defense not being able to finish games for them, because in their 8 losses this season, besides the first 49ers game and this Chiefs game, they lost 21-13, 30-24, 21-16, 40-34, 39-32, and 27-23. So they're losing these close scoring games, and that always comes down to defense at the end of the day. Your defense just cannot stop the offense in the last drives or just throughout the game, time of possession. And we know the defense is bad. We know that. The fact that they're even at 7 wins is amazing this season. I would like to see them make the playoffs because it's a good story for Geno Smith. But what this is growing pains. They get a couple of players in the draft, get a couple of free agent guys this offseason. Next season will be the true test to see what happens with the Seattle Seahawks under Geno Smith.
Yeah, I agree with both what you guys said. I don't think they're making the playoffs. It was a great start for Geno, great story for Geno. I think he locked himself as the starter at least for next season. But yeah, their defense just really has fallen off. And now we're seeing the holes, and they're just hit the wall. And sometimes that happens with teams that have really, really good starts. They start showing, they start plateauing, and we're seeing what this team really is, which is they're a few pieces away of being really, really solid. I don't think any of us thought they were going to be this team hunting for the playoffs. I think all of us thought, like Matt said at the start, they were going to be a team with a top 5 pick. It's a really good story. It's always great to see Seattle in the playoffs. They have a great home crowd when they have home advantage. But yeah, I think they just hit the mark. They hit the wall, and this is what they are. And I think they're going to miss playoffs. I like Detroit make that last playoff spot. But I think this team's poised to have a good year next year. I think Geno showed that, what he can do, and they add a few more pieces, maybe solidify this defense a little bit. And I think this could be a team to watch out for next year.
Put it like this, I hope they lose the last 2 games, because if you're just going to make the wild card 7th seed and then lose anyway because they're not going to beat the 49ers in that bracket, what's the point? Get a good draft pick and build.
So moving forward, I want to focus on this game, the Panthers and the Lions. Now, Lions have been quite the topic. And Desmond, you talked about them just now. You still think they can make the playoffs, and I'd like to see them pull it off too. But this game against Carolina, where Detroit went in there, did not step up. They lose 23-37. It might almost be an example of the Lions being the Lions. However, like I mentioned, they're still in the hunt. Now, if they lose this week against Chicago and Washington wins, we'll eliminate them from the playoffs. So you need the best case scenario for them is that the Lions win out and that the Commanders lose out. And despite all that, and this very ugly showing, and props to also Sam Darnold looking good once again. He clearly has some motives in him, playing a really great game. DJ Moore was stellar. The running game has stepped up. Give credit to the interim head coach for getting this team motivated. And the Panthers, a lot of respect for where they were just a few weeks ago. But just focusing on the Lions here. And despite there are obstacles to get to win that spot, which isn't impossible. You do have to admit this was not a game you wanted to see them play in such a crucial scenario.
You know, I was telling the guys before we started recording that I went back and looked at our picks from last week. And while I did the worst of everyone on the panel, I did say that I thought that the Lions were just going to find a way to lose this game. And you guys all laughed at me when I said that. And I was just like, we're going to walk in here next Tuesday and be like, I don't know how they lost, but they lost. And, you know, honestly, I mean, the Lions defense has really improved over these last like several weeks, but they got blitzed on the ground, giving up 300 yards rushing,
something like that.
Yeah.
It was
320 and 3 touchdowns.
It's incredibly bad. You know, I mean, and that's on a day where Jared Goff throws for over 300 yards passing. So I mean, it wasn't like they weren't putting up points, but yeah, the Lions defense, after completely rebounding these last like 7 weeks, just completely took a nap. I don't know if they just like didn't take Carolina seriously or if they just didn't know how to adjust to what was happening. But, you know, Freeman and Hubbard just absolutely crushed them. And you know, I think they could be the 7th seed, but if they're going to keep putting up performances like that, I mean, they might not win another game this year.
Yeah, I think it's a setback game for that defense. Like they were playing above what they actually are the last few weeks. So this was a very humbling back to earth of being the worst defense in the league. But what I really focus on is the lack of the run game for Detroit. Like the last few weeks, they've had no ability to run the football. What happened to Jamal Williams, who would get a touchdown every single game, FL every week? And I don't know. Is it just me, but DeAndre Swift is looking like a bust, or is he just underutilized because of Williams? But like, why isn't, in my opinion, your best athlete on the field outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift not getting, you know, more opportunities in the pass game and in the rush? Like, in my opinion, he can't have 4 carries in a game. Jamal Williams can't have just 7 carries. Like, I get it, you're an offensive pass-happy team first, but like in a game against Carolina, you know, the run game would have helped for them. When it comes to Carolina, you know, I'm impressed as always. I think Sam Darnold showing us that he's going to probably get another year down in Carolina, it looks like, or at least be able to, like, you know, compete in the offseason. They found their 2 stud. I count 1 stud running back in Foreman, and Hubbard's a good change of pace guy. But I really want to give kudos to Steve Wilkes. In my opinion, I think they should hire him next season as the full-time head coach. He's galvanized this Carolina team into competing for that divisional spot at the 4th for the NFC South. So kudos to them for a good win, and Detroit has to wake up.
Wake up.
I agree as well. Just off Brian's point, I don't know why they shied away from Williams and Swift in this game. I know Williams got banged up a little later, but what was clicking for them was that they had Williams in between the tackles, and you had Swift coming out, catching passes and getting handoffs. And for some reason, they did not use them. And it's just really weird when you have a game like this where you utilize 2 of your best athletes, I think, on the team. It was just very, very weird. I think it was not a trap game, but this defense didn't show up as well. But it was just weird to see this offense. And I got lucky in my fantasy. I have DeAndre Swift. I love DeAndre Swift. I was lucky to win this week, but it just beside me, I'm like, why is he only getting this amount of touches? Like every time the Lions do well, it's Williams and him just wreaking havoc in certain aspects of the game, whether that's Williams hitting the holes and then he's catching out of the backfield and, you know, being the safety blanket for Goff and chucking up big plays. It was just weird that they kind of reverted away from what was being successful, and they really need to get back to what they were doing to get into position to make the playoffs. Otherwise, I think it'd be another unfortunate end for the Lions, which we all want to see the Lions have success and get finally back into the postseason, but they cannot play like this again. They really need to bottle up here, especially with these 2 crucial final games of the year. A playoff spot.
Excuse me.
Is Goff the guy?
I think Goff's the guy at this point.
I think Goff's the guy.
I got no problems with Goff.
Goff is the guy, and he's there to stay. So, Ravens and Falcons. Ravens win 17-9. And even though the Ravens secured a playoff spot out of this game, and it seems the vibe around the country is that they're still not taking it seriously, as we still await the return of Lamar Jackson. And it was mentioned earlier, he's been wishy-washy. And regardless, after his season ends, should he go to another team, that it seems to be a real and distinct possibility. But it seems Falcons aren't going to do it. This is their year. They are eliminated officially. They're still waiting for his first touchdown as a starter in this league. But focus on the Ravens, though. I've talked back and forth. It seems that the defense did step up even against a weaker team. The Ravens, do we think this is a much better team when Lamar Jackson comes back, or just ride it out with Tyler Huntley and see what you could do with there? And if this is going to be the team of your future, especially if you're not going to have Lamar Jackson, might as well see with what we got here.
No, you need Lamar back ASAP. You need him back ASAP. Like I said a few weeks ago, he's seeing the money increase with him being out there. This team looks completely different than on offense than when he's not in there. And I think that was proven. But again, they usually have the backups that kind of like are similar to Lamar, but no one's Lamar Jackson. I think this Ravens team really needs him back just because of how much respect defenses command on him, because he can run, he can kill you with short passes, he can throw the occasional deep ball. I think the Ravens team really wants him back because they're very, very good, or they're really talented on offense once he's kind of there. But I know he kind of had some iffy moments, but again, he is a MVP of this league. He's a very, 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 very good quarterback. So I think his team's different, and they're just counting down the days till he's back on the field, because I think a lot of us are going to be surprised to see what this Ravens team can do once he comes back.
I want to look to the future a little bit here, because, the Ravens are going to the playoffs. That's official now. If Lamar doesn't come back, I think this week, I don't think they're going to be the 5 seed. I think they're going to be the 6 seed. I think the Chargers are going to pop up and take that 5 seed from them. And if the Ravens aren't the 5 seed, they have no chances of winning a first round playoff game. Because if they have to face Buffalo or Cincinnati in that first round, I mean, goodbye.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for them, their entire chances of getting to the divisional round kind of hinge on Lamar coming back, I think, this week. And if he doesn't, just forget about it. But personally, I think this Ravens team's one and done regardless. I think that even if they face Jacksonville, they're one and done. Ravens have looked completely underwhelming, even when Lamar's been on the field. They got to blow this thing up and start over. This is not a good football team. They've been skating off of just winning based off Lamar's talent and nothing more. And I hate the construction of this entire team, top to bottom. I think they're entirely fool's gold.
I agree. I think they're the worst team in both conferences in the playoffs right now. I think they're the 14th team. I would take Washington over them, just because at least Washington has a capable offense, regardless of Heineke or Wentz is the quarterback. So I have the Ravens as the 14th. I have the Tampa Bay over them. I just don't see them being capable. Yeah, you have a good defense, but defense doesn't score points. You're not a scoring defense, so it doesn't matter. And your offense,
and they've blown a lot of games this year too.
Yeah, they've blown a lot of games, and the offense is lethargic. Yeah, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins put up rushing yards. We know that they're going to put up rushing yards, but Sammy Watkins can be the only receiver with 40 yards, and then Mark Andrews has 45 yards from the tight end position. It's ridiculous. I think they have a lot of trade assets. I think they could trade a guy like Dobbins and Edwards. I think they could trade Mark Andrews. I think they could trade some people on defense, get some draft picks and rebuild, but they need to blow this up. I agree with you, Desmond. I think they should fire the head coach. I think that his time is, you need a regime change. I think it's just done. His way of winning is old and outdated for this NFL, and it's not really working. I think he could find a job somewhere else as a special teams coordinator, or maybe higher up in organizational positions. But I see Harbaugh gone. Yeah, that's my take.
Maybe he'll go to Michigan.
Maybe they do a switch and the brother comes and coaches the Ravens.
The Texans beat the Titans. They snapped a 9-game losing streak. Yay! Titans. Definitely, if we talk about teams with the ugliest collapse this season, this Titans team is definitely up there. I mean, yeah, this team isn't going to win the division, even if they're technically still in it. I think they're going to just, die a slow burning death, as this whole season has been. And, it's nice to see Houston win more than one game this year.
Keeps Lovie Smith's job. I think the Titans are the worst team in football right now. I think that the Colts might be better than them, just because.
No, the Broncos, son.
I don't know. I don't know. Listen, Brett Ripon does put up points for them, though. When Brett Ripon is quarterback, they put up points. When Russell Wilson's quarterback. So Brett Ripon's Broncos currently is better than the Tennessee Titans.
If the Broncos are facing the Titans tomorrow, you're picking the Broncos?
Yeah, I am, because Derrick Henry's going to be hurt. Derrick Henry's hurt. And listen, put it like this. They lost to the Texans, and Derrick Henry put up 126 yards and a touchdown. You can't – a run-first offense does not win anymore. It's done. That era of football is over. It is not the 70s anymore. It worked a little bit the last few seasons, but it's completely changed now. You have to throw the football. They can't win. They might not win another game this season. Like, you can't. Malik Wilson isn't it. He's a development guy. Tannehill's ass. Henry is just getting worked to death. They have Robert Woods as their best receiver, and he's off an ACL and still technically healing. Like, this team is awful. The only reason why they win close games is because Derrick Henry can get first downs and run out the clock. And, okay, cool, but, like, you can't win a playoff game. And, all right, so you win time of possession games, but that doesn't mean you're a good football team. In my opinion, Tennessee is the worst football team in the NFL right now. The Colts put up more yards than them in the last three games.
Just for the listeners out there, I would take the Titans over the Colts, over the Broncos, the Falcons.
Yeah, that is something to say. A 7-win team is the worst in football.
But you're not wrong, though.
All those teams put up more offensive yards than this Titans team, and they have better defenses if you really think about it.
I'm just saying, I think that Titans are now backsliding into being a bottom 5 team, unfortunately. I have the same take as I had about the Ravens. You got to blow them up. Like, this team is dysfunctional. I don't see anything. I mean, you don't want to just be consistently mid, and that's what they are. Like, if you're not working on being a great team, you have to blow it up and go get some draft picks, rebuild your organization. They're a mid team every year. Even when they were the 1 seed last year, no one took them seriously, and they got bounced in their first time out there. So I mean, yeah, move on. I think I don't even like Malik Willis. I would just draft another quarterback in the first round if you could.
No,
there's nothing to blow up.
He looks like a lost puppy
Derrick.
Well, I mean, like, just
besides Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons, they have no assets.
Right, but they've been trying to build a team around Derrick Henry. I'm saying I think it's time to even move on from Derrick Henry.
Yeah, no,
maybe see if you can't see if you can't trade him to somebody who would be willing to pay a decent ransom for Derrick Henry services. I think the Eagles would.
You think he's worth a first round pick?
No,
to the right team. Yeah, it depends on which team you're asking.
I think a second round pick and maybe a player, third round pick and a second or third round pick and a player. He has too much wear on him. It's like I remember DeMarco Murray with Dallas. Like, you run him to the ground and then he leaves in free agency. Will sign a big deal and then he'll never amount to anything. Like, it's a lot of wear and tear, and especially like the last 5 games right now are probably taking a year off his career.
I think on the right team, he's a difference maker. I mean, but it's got to be the right situation.
I would think
I agree with that
for
too.
Henry, I would think it would have to be similar to what the 49ers gave up to get McCaffrey. Like, I think you would have to do a similar deal that Titans would even engage with that. If they do get a first round pick, great. But if not, it has to be at least a second, a third, and a couple fourth or late other prize picks to get Henry. I think that's what the Titans will listen to. But yeah, I'm not saying they're the worst team in the NFL, but they're on a huge downward spiral. I love Vrabel as coach, but he probably is going to get fired at the end of this year. And it's unfortunate.
And that stinks because he is a good coach.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
He's keeping it around.
He'll get picked up somewhere else. He could be. They might stick around with him and say, you know what, like, you will help build the future of this team. We like you. Just year didn't work out. We have to hit the reset button. We got to do whatever. And if he sticks around, he sticks around. But I think all of us last year weren't afraid of the Titans. We knew what they were. They were kind of a one-trick pony with Henry just having a dominant year and Tannehill not making mistakes. And now you're seeing this team and they're just trying to do the same thing. And now everyone knows what their offense is and bottling it all up. I mean, even
and they fired the GM too.
Yeah. Jim, it's easy. But even when the Giants played them, like, what did the Giants do? They just bottled up Henry. They ended up winning that game off, but seeing that, and now we're seeing the struggles. Just like all these teams are like, all right, we just have to try to stop Henry, and we could probably walk away with a win. And now that's why this Titans team on a spiral. The Jaguars probably win the division, and I think they'll probably, like, you know, everyone's saying, they'll probably look hard to be like, all right, is it time to blow this up? And if so, what are people willing to go for Henry and whatever else we can, because we have to hit the reset button and get assets.
Definitely, man. Definitely. San Francisco played the Commanders. They win 37-20. Brock Purdy staying undefeated. How about that? George Kittle is some duo so far. I think they have 4 touchdowns amongst each other already. Good stuff there. Good in their offense, just giving everybody an opportunity to make big plays. Washington winds up Taylor Heineke after this game. Carson Wentz is coming in. Washington has that 7th seed at the moment, but we have mentioned the teams that are trying to be hungry and take it away. When it's all said and done, and we know about the 49ers, I think there's not much else to add, but they're continuing every week to show why they are one of the best, if not the best team in the entire league. They won their 8th in a row, and everything just clicks on all aspects of the ball. It's almost like they were what the Bills are going to be, but now it's what the 49ers are taking over, and Brock Purdy, you cannot be more comfortable with him as the starting quarterback. They are in a good spot. And if we're talking a few weeks to see if Jimmy G is going to be healthy, I think Brock Purdy's the one to stay. I think he's definitely earned at least starts in the playoffs. Do you guys agree with that to start it off?
Here's my issue. Jimmy G, when making the playoffs, does have this clutch factor about him where he knows how to win games in the playoffs. He brought them to the Super Bowl. He beat Dallas last year. Like, he has that ability. I think you have to ride with the hot hand, but yet Purdy will have a tight leash in a divisional round. Or if they make it to the divisional round or the wild card. So I see that. But I think going forward next season, I think that if he plays well, Purdy, this is their guy. And they're in an amazing situation where they could trade Trey Lance and get a nice pick, some type of pick, get some compensation, which is good. At least he won't walk. So they could get another asset for that. Jimmy G will go. But I like Purdy a lot. I think this team has a lot of potential. They're the most well-rounded team in football in my eyes. And they could really go the distance.
All right, all right.
I don't want to, I don't want to be too reactionary about this. I mean, you're not going to take out Brock Purdy if he's doing well, and he hasn't shown any signs that he can't handle every moment. So I mean, even if Jimmy G is available,
very, very good teams.
Yeah, if Jimmy G is available, they'll have him on standby in case the kid starts struggling. But otherwise, I think they're just going to ride this kid out for the rest of the year. And on the Commanders side of this, schedule's looking favorable for them. I mean, I didn't think they would make the playoffs. I still kind of don't, but you can't deny the fact that their last 2 games are at home and they're facing the Browns who have nothing to play for, and the Cowboys might be sitting week 18 because they might just be locked into that 5th seed. So, the schedule is lined up for the Commanders to actually to win out.
Yeah, if just to mention the way that they can clinch a playoff berth this week in particular, if they win, plus the Browns and Lions loss, plus the Seahawks loss, plus the Packers loss, if all 4 of those teams lose, and the Commanders win, then the Giants and if the Giants win, that will secure the NFC playoffs in that sense. So they need some help, but like you said, Desmond, odds are in their favor. But the question is, can Carson Wentz lead them after being sidelined for such a long time with his injury?
Nah, bad move by them. I'm sorry, but like Heineke, even though he had a bad game, he's played better statistically than Carson Wentz, a little bit better, and the team loves him. They galvanize around him. This is breaking up the juju. They've been winning games. We knew they weren't going to beat the 49ers. So what is the shock that, Heineke had a bad game against the 49ers? Well, he's playing the best defense in the league. And the pick he threw, it's an interception. It happens. He still had a QBR of 84.1 and a quarterback rating of 114.6. You can't ask him to do anything else against that team. So he had a good game, in my opinion, besides that one interception. The offense is lackluster just because that's the offensive scheme. You're playing with an average quarterback in an average offense. That's the reality. I don't know what Rivera wants to like think that Wentz is going to pull an MVP. Like Eagles, that's done with Wentz. He has ghosts in his head flying around at all times. Has no idea what's going on. When he hits the turf. So I think because of this change, they will lose. I honestly think that if Carson Wentz starts the next 2 games, they will lose out and miss the playoffs.
I think these decisions are made a lot of times not because they make sense, but because they're trying to like protect other people. Because Heineke's the better quarterback, and I think everyone knows that. But I think when you make a decision to bring on a contract like Carson Wentz has, it almost feels like sometimes they make these decisions as far as being able to be like justifying the contract. Like, oh, we got to have him out there because we're paying him so much. We don't want to make the front office look bad, because there's no football logic to this. Heineke was the better measurable quarterback in every way you can think of. Carson Wentz just looks like a quarterback because he's 6'5", 230, but no, he hasn't looked good since 2017. You don't have to be a genius to recognize that.
Yeah. It was weird to me that with them going to Wentz, because I think Heineke's done well enough to at least handle the rest of the season. And I agree with you, Desmond. I think they're just doing it to try to justify getting Wentz on board here and all that. And I think it's just going to backfire. And then with the 49ers, real quick, I agree with what everyone said. I think you just ride with the hot hand, but he's on a short leash in the playoffs. Everything matters, obviously. And we'll see how Purdy is against one of these top teams, or one of the better teams that made the postseason. Right? We'll see when the all the lights are on him if he delivers or not. But if you're not, then hopefully Jimmy G is healthy enough to play, and they have a security blanket in their quality starting quarterback. So with the 49ers, I don't know about next year if you're the guy. I think they'll give Trey Lance over Purdy, but they have a window here of having at least 2 quality guys. So that always helps them. But I think you just ride with it. The team's working well with him. But like everyone else said, just short leash, and hopefully Jimmy G's healthy enough that he can just be like, all right, I got this, and step in and lead them to a win.
With very mixed feelings, with very bittersweet feelings on a Christmas Eve. Sorry. With very bittersweet feelings on a Christmas Eve evening, we had the Raiders play the Steelers amongst the passing of the late, great Franco Harris. And the Steelers respawn by rallying past the Raiders. Now, this was not a good game to watch. It was very, very tough to watch, in fact. And I don't know about Kenny Pickett, guys, but he hasn't shown me any reason why he's going to be anything special. Maybe he's good enough to get another to at least start at the beginning of this season. But, man, while they were trying to make that comeback, I just didn't feel like he's going to create such a great touchdown. And especially in late game scenarios, Kenny Pickett just isn't there. But regardless, they got the win for Franco Harris and his family, and that's what matters most. And this game on the other side for the Raiders, Derek Carr throwing 3 interceptions, not hitting any of his major assets, and he is now benched for the rest of the season. And Stidham is the guy for the final 2 games of the season. Yeah, so that's what we say. With maybe it'd be impressive if the Steelers can win out, so that Mike Tomlin continues his streak of so many seasons above 500. And the Raiders' future, I think that's the interesting story right here. Where are the Raiders going now in this, the messiest season ever for them, arguably since like the Jamarcus Russell years? And it's too bad we don't have the Raiders fan here to hear his take on it. But for everyone else, guys, clearly Derek Carr is done in Vegas.
I think Alex should go in place of Alex for this one.
I know I laugh at the Raiders a lot, just because, and it was a hard game to watch, as we said, but just great job of the Steelers for honoring Franco Harris as they did, the late great Franco Harris. I think the question going forward is what the hell are the Oakland? What the heck are the Vegas Raiders doing? Because you just benched the guy who the star receiver you landed wanted to go there for, and now what is it for him? So there's a lot of question marks. I think Derek had this rough game. I don't blame him for anything of the season so far. I think coaching, I think a lot of other things. I think he's a really solid quarterback in this league, and I think whatever team he lands on next, he's going to be very happy to be out of that situation because it's just everything that can go wrong does go wrong in Vegas for whatever reason it might be. So, just seeing that news today, I don't know what they're thinking. It's been a rough year, but let your guy finish the year and go on from there. If you want to move on or whatever. I know he has a big contract here, and a lot of people are saying this is the excuse now that they're going to bench him to try to find a way for him to whatever fail his physical or the case would be so they can avoid the last year of his contract. But it's just
that's petty.
Yeah, it's petty. It's very confusing. This guy has done nothing but show up for you guys, battle through injuries, try to help this team win. And you're doing this. And like I said, I don't think the blame is solely on Carr. Yes, could have had a better year with the things he had around him, but that team's just a mess from coaching, the front office, to everything else in between. And, I saw a stat today that not once has Derek Carr played with a top 15 defense in the league. He's always been with 20 or below. So, again, defense gave up that touchdown. They had to lose that game. We've seen them just blow lead after lead. We've seen miracles happen on this Raiders defense. So again, I would keep out of this. What the hell are they doing? What are they thinking? I have no idea. Just another ugly loss. And yeah, we just have to see what happens on. But I'm, speaking for Alex, the other Alex, like today, I am furious. I'm absolutely furious because we have no idea what this team is going to do in the future because they gave up picks and all this other stuff. Just an absolute mess. And I think all of the Vegas fans, even the Oakland fans who, transferred over, I think all of them are furious and annoyed because they got promised the world, but now they're looking like they might be one of the worst, for the next, 5-10 years without the outlook of this team right now.
He cried for you, and this is how you pay him back.
I have never felt worse for, I think, a player ever in my years of watching football. I've besides Tony Romo constantly getting beat to high hell and always getting hurt and giving his all. When I see Derek Carr, I think of Tony Romo, in his prime years. 2.5 to 1 TD to interception quarterback, efficient, good completion percentage, could give you a game-winning drive, gave you his all, play through injuries. This had grit to him, but never had any real supporting cast. Does have a good defense, like Alex said, and never above 20. Had weapons now, but he used to not have weapons. Like, mind you, he had Michael Crabtree, was like his best receiver at one point. Like, that's sad. In his past his prime. In
Sorry,
early
receiver like Crabtree.
Yeah, exactly. And he gave it to all to this franchise, and they spat in his face. Like, yeah, in my opinion, this is a McDaniel's decision of benching Carr because he brought over his experiment that he's been having since the Patriots, Jarrett Stidham. McDaniel's likes Jarrett Stidham. He wants to see him succeed. So here's the perfect out. Play Jarrett Stidham. He gets to see his boy sort of shine, maybe, and they could cut Carr. It's always a regime change. Like, yeah, Carr got them Adams, and now they want to try to find a bigger fish for Adams. Maybe that this was their plan all along. They want to get Aaron Rodgers. So they got Adams over with Carr. They would jump Carr at the end of the season, and then they would try to get Aaron Rodgers over there in Vegas. Be perfect. Or maybe they go for Tom Brady. That'd be a very Vegas thing to do.
That low-key makes sense.
It does low-key make sense. It's all about media and making money, and that's what Davis is like Jerry Jones. He just wants to make money. So you're in a big area, big media markets, Vegas, a lot of gambling. You have a top receiver, get the GOAT at quarterback. Who cares if they're good? They'll sell tickets. Maybe they'll get Gronk at tight end with Waller just to put the icing on the cake. That'd be some hell of an offseason. But it's really a shame for Derek Carr because this man gave it his all, and I hope wherever he goes, he has people around him to actually support him for once in his career. Because if you guys remember in 2016, that man broke his fibula against the Colts, and he tried so hard to play that playoff game. He was literally talking about getting like
A new
a
fibula.
cast, a rod put in, and to try to play like TO in the Super Bowl. He tried everything to try to convince them to play, and they didn't do it. They had Connor Cook start. I'm pretty sure they got like tattooed in that game, but he's done everything right. And it's never been enough for them. So hopefully he goes to a good team that he gets loved by the fan base and the organization.
Jets, give him a call.
Yes.
Jets got to be calling everybody this offseason.
If
Yeah, I'll
they're-
keep it real short. I'm putting the blame on McDaniels for this one. The Raiders were a better team last year. They went out and got the best wide receiver in the NFL, and they got worse. Like they were better off with the regime that they had previously to this, and just another misstep by this Raiders organization trying to do too much. You know, I think McDaniels has been an overall negative effect on the Raiders, looking bad going forward. On the positive note, Steelers are on track to have another winning season, playing the banged up Ravens and the Browns the last two games. So Ravens 7th seed. I'm sorry, Steelers 7th seed. I mean,
That'd be an
Possible.
unbearable.
Tomlin. If that's
In the
the
words
bad
in the
one.
words of our missing Alex, that would be an unwatchable, unbearable game to watch in that wild card round. Kenny Pickett might have 5 interceptions that game.
Yo, let's have some laughs. The Broncos played the Rams on Christmas in the afternoon. Shouts to Baker Mayfield. You win the MVP. Everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Denver Broncos. Did they score those 18 points? Nope. They scored 14. Oh, man. These guys really made that Ram team look amazing. And when Patrick Starr calls your interception like they did for Russell Wilson, that's it. Season's over. You suck. You suck. You suck. Russell Wilson just straight. Who steals more money? Sam Bradman-Fried or Russell Wilson? Like, seriously, this guy has that. I happened to watch that broadcast. I was interested to see how they handle it. I like these Nickelodeon broadcasts, and Richard there, so no bias there. But anyways, just losing their fifth in a row. But when Patrick Starr called that interception live in real time too, I just knew that there's literally nothing redeeming, and it finally happened. The Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett. Wow. And Baker Mayfield, and I was going to say it again. I said it this week, last week, and the week prior. He really should stay as the Rams starting quarterback moving forward, even if they are rebuilding. Shouts to Baker Mayfield winning the MVP. Thank God Nickelodeon didn't give the option for Russell Wilson, because the internet would ruin that, like they did with Mitch. He won the MVP losing against the Saints in a playoff game for the Bears.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
what a game! What a game! Cam Akers killed my fantasy team. Aggravated. Why couldn't McVay just cut him like a couple of weeks ago? Like, caused me a lot of grief. With the Broncos, I've never seen this happen before. I've never seen such a bad football team. Like, it really does amaze me. Like, this team this team is my tie with the Titans on worst team. As I think about it, just because it's horrific. It's the worst signing ever. And I don't know if you guys read the article I sent you guys on Instagram today about, is it really Nathaniel Hackett's fault when we saw all these signs with Russell Wilson over the years? He's had scapegoats and scapegoats, but a Pete Carroll, who in my opinion is a top 3 head coach ever in all football across all levels of success and just longevity and impact on the game, said it's time to go. I could win with Geno Smith, who before this season got all I really ever knew about was getting punched in the face in the locker room, and his great West Virginia season. But like, what the fuck? Like, this is bad. Like, Russell Wilson is a thief. Like, he might need to go to jail for felony. Like, this is bad. Not for felony, for robbery. Just bad, man. Like, this is nuts. I've never seen this before. Like, Brett Ripken's a better quarterback right now than Russell Wilson. It's so sad. There's fights between the backup quarterback had to stick up for the starting quarterback to then almost fight with the offensive line. Like Russell Wilson is a child. I don't even know what to call him. A wuss, a baby. Like, grow the fuck up, be a man. Like, what are you doing out there, man? Have some
Mr.
accountability,
Unlimited.
Mr.
He has
Unlimited.
more
Let's run.
He has
Go.
more than interceptions than bathrooms.
It's sad. It's sad. I've never seen this before. I hope they find a way. Maybe he'll retire this offseason, but I hope they find a way to get rid of him. I don't want to see him ever in the NFL ever again. I won't ever watch a Broncos game ever again while he's quarterback.
I will. It's lots of comedy, lots of laughs. And I think this is the time
They
of the
did
year
not show up.
well, we're supposed to be talking about playoff teams. And so I refuse to spend too much time talking about the Rams and the Broncos because they're both trash. So we can save all that nonsense for the offseason conversations. Broncos suck. We know they suck. Best thing to come out of this week is that my prediction from like months ago that they wouldn't win more than 5 games is still on track. Very happy about this. And yeah, Baker Mayfield, congratulations. You are finding a way to stay, get yourself one more, chance in this league. So congratulations to you. On to the next game. This game was terrible.
Yeah, this game was pretty terrible. All the time I was thinking just Broncos country, let's die. I love that meme just because it's just been just a disaster. The Patrick Star interception is the highlight of the game. For me, I was cracking up once I saw that clip. I thought it was hilarious that they were just making fun of the Broncos and just how miserable it is. I can really see over these next few weeks like a longest yard situation happening if Russell keeps on playing, where he calls hike and the whole offensive line just ducks so that he can just get absolutely murdered.
Man,
I think it's just an absolute disaster what's going on right now. I could easily see that happening. I'll find it funny because it's just funny to Denver, but I can easily see longest yard Russell Wilson coming out of the huddle calling hike and everyone's just like, all right, we're done.
Style and
just an absolute disaster of a season. We had such high hopes for them. That's usually what happens. And Russell looks terrible. And like I said a few weeks ago, the Seahawks knew something that we all, I guess, didn't know, and they look like geniuses right now because they got a boatload of picks and don't have to deal with this disaster anymore. So good luck, Broncos, because you're going to need it. And Russ Wilson is a thief, and I think that's what everyone's going to be saying over these next few years of that contract when he's in.
The Cardinals and the Bucks played on Christmas night.
Hey,
almost blew it. Overtime. Tom Brady keeps it sturdy. Like we talked about, they just need to beat Carolina to clinch the division. Tom McShirley wasn't exactly Tom McShirley of Penn State, but that wasn't much of a thing anyway. But regardless, Bucks keep it close, even though watching that offense is pure misery and a punishment. But they are somehow likely going to win this division. And if they don't, shame on everybody there. In this ugly game, Tampa Bay pulls it off.
Quick thing, because I don't really want to talk about this game, but Fournette came out that he has first off, I just did my own jersey swap for, in my opinion, the greatest defensive player I've ever seen in my lifetime. JJ
I don't
Watt.
mean to interrupt. Yes, I was saying for those who are listening, what did you do, Brian? For those who are listening,
I just took my Emmitt Smith jersey off and I just put on my Houston Texans JJ Watt jersey. A little jersey swap here between takes, because the greatest defensive player in my lifetime, and I would say of maybe the last 20 years, if you take out Ray Lewis, because of I like JJ Watt better. Is going to retire at the end of the season. And for some reason, I've been Nostradamus this season and calling JJ Watt games. I just call, flash in the pan back games. And I've never done that before. And maybe I had a feeling he was going to retire this off season coming up. But kudos to a fantastic career. It's a shame a few seasons got robbed by injuries. That's probably why he's retiring so early. I think he's only 33 years old. In my opinion, he could probably play till 36, but he's going to go off to the sunset with his new family. So God bless him on that. But yeah, just an overall generational talent, and the world will never forget what J.J. Watt gave to this game and to the city of Houston, raising $41.5 million, I believe, after that hurricane. A Walter Payton Man of the Year award, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. This man is the definition of a good dude and a great football player, and I can't wait to see his future going forward.
Let's make sure we get a reel and he sees that.
Yeah. I mean, just completely agree with what Brian said. He just a game changer, probably the best defensive player we've seen over the last 10 years. Just unbelievable. So props to him. Yeah, just weird that Brian could call his games like that. So everyone, if we do, put in the comments, who do you think Brian's next player he should be Nostradamus for? Because we're trying to figure that out, who it should be. But just back to JJ Watt. Yeah, just one of my favorite players, one of my favorite non-Giant players. Always have such respect for him for what he's done on the field and off the field, obviously, as Brian mentioned. Just so much stuff for the community. And we need more players like him in our league. And I wish him nothing but the best going forward. We're definitely going to miss him, but we're always going to remember all the highlights he had and being one of the best defensive players we've seen in a really long time.
Always been a fan of JJ Watt. I'm always a big fan of the people who are able to take their wealth and find a way to impact those in their communities who are struggling. So what he did for Houston after that hurricane was a really big deal in my mind. He's been doing a lot of humanitarian type efforts before that, since that. Great person overall. A brief thing about the game. I want to talk about the Buccaneers for a second here. They play amazing in that no huddle offense. I cannot figure out why they don't run that the whole game, because every time they do, they seem to click, amazingly. So I'm not sure if it's like stubbornness or what the case may be, but Buccaneers seem a little, I'm starting to think that Carolina's going to take this division from them. But the way that they've been playing, it would not surprise me at all. Buccaneers look suspect. I don't really have a whole lot of hope for them, even if they did get in to beat Dallas in the first round. So I'm ready to I'm ready to turn the page on it. I think Tom Brady's, I think he's done. I think the Buccaneers are done. I don't think they're going to the playoffs.
Still afraid as a Cowboy fan. They have our number. I really want Carolina to win out, man. I'll tell you, it's gonna get scary. That wild card game.
Like I told you guys in the chat a couple days ago, there's 2 quarterbacks I never discount. It's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. So we'll see what happens with this Bucs team. They are suspect. I agree with that. But if they can sneak into the postseason, watch out, because Brady always somehow manages to pull things out of his ass. So we'll see what they do.
All right,
mind you, Carolina is 1-5 away, and they're playing at Buccaneers. So.
Last game before we quickly go through our picks for next week. And I'm just curious, we'll do very quickly on the college football. They have 2 major playoff games themselves. Just want to hear quick picks on that. But the Chargers and the Colts suck. Colts not bring any magic. The Chargers win again. Justin Herbert leads the team to a playoff season, especially after the ugly exit against the Raiders last season. But they pull it off. Staley, at least, I think, earns himself another year, obviously, especially here. But I understand some takes that they should switch it up as well. But regardless, Chargers pull it off on Monday night, and the Colts just have one more game like this next week, and then obviously get a new coach, because Jeff Saturday experiment has been funny, but clearly doesn't know what's going on or what he's doing.
The Colts shouldn't be allowed to play football for a season, I think, after what they've done to the NFL. I think they've made an absolute joke of it. Hiring Jeff Saturday has ruined the game, in my opinion, and it's a shame. And Staley with the Chargers might be one of those coaches that has a winning record and goes on a little run in the playoffs and still loses his job. I just don't see it working out with them.
Yeah, if I'm the Chargers, I'm backing up the money truck, bring in Sean Payton. Justin Herbert's the truth. He should be, if you manage it correctly, he should be a top 5 quarterback for the next decade. So
Yeah.
put the assets around him. Like, go get the right people, go get the right coaches. Like, don't waste that opportunity.
Yeah, I completely agree. If I'm the Chargers, I'm being as aggressive as possible to try to convince Sean Payton to come there. Daly has a winning record, but again, if they flame out or whatever, they look struggles along the way or whatever the case might be, I think they can move on from him, knowing that Payton is forming his dream team staff, as they're saying right now. I'd say just throw as much money as you can to land him because he can help that that franchise out for a very long time.
Let it go, Colts. Let it go. All right, let's do our picks for Week 17 in the NFL. 2 weeks to go. After this week, the playoff brackets are set. But regardless, this is going to be very, very exciting, and it's going to be a great time. So first, Thursday night, tomorrow, or in fact, time the show is dropping, will be Thursday night, the final Thursday night game of the season. We have the Cowboys and the Titans. The Cowboys are opening at -12, even as the road team. I think it's fair to say Cowboys win, but be careful on that spread.
Agreed.
Derrick Henry's doubtful. If that's the case, the Dallas Cowboys will win by 21 points.
Ooh,
The Cowboys fan is actually picking the Cowboys.
I know it's a Christmas miracle. It just came a couple days too late. I just cannot envision the Titans keeping this close. I really can't. I mean, Dallas has been struggling on defense, but even their defense can bottle up this anemic offense. So yeah, Cowboys by 2 touchdowns.
yeah, I'm going the Cowboys, but you guys know me. I hate touching anything above 10 just because anything can happen in football. So I'm just going to go Cowboys outright. I think just the spread is a little iffy on my point. I know it's 12, and it probably could happen, but just go the Cowboys. Safe bet.
The Colts are playing the Giants. Crucial game. Can the Giants clinch their first playoff? Can they clinch their first playoff berth in 6 seasons? They open at -6 even. And you know what? This is the time, especially with how awful the Colts have looking. It's time for the Giants to celebrate a playoff berth. No bias aside, this team is clearly better, and they should pull it off easily.
I'm going to be there at the stadium. I'm super excited, looking forward to it. It's my first Giants game in a really long time. I've seen tickets, but I haven't gone to the last few games. So I'm going to go there.
Nice.
I'm going to hammer the spread, just because the Colts are even. That place is going to be rocking. I've been to Giants games where it's been playoffs on the line. That place is always, always, always incredible. I think it's going to be incredible again. I think the Giants can use that energy, and I think they're going to go win. So I'm going to go Giants, and I'm going to say they're going to cover the spread there as well.
Colts have a tough defense, but they don't have any offense. So, I mean, you basically, if you score 17, you win this game. And the Giants are more than capable of that. I think they get 17 in the first half. I think Giants run away with this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think Giants clear favorite. I think that Daniel Jones, here's my prop bet, 250 passing yards and 2 touchdowns.
All right. The Jets are playing the Seahawks. Jets are playing a meaningful game. Doesn't look like at one point they just even deserve it. But regardless, the Jets are opening at -1.5 against the Seahawks. As I mentioned, the Seahawks losing this one. I think the Jets are going to win. They'll cover. But next week I'll pick a little differently against them. But Jets are winning this game with Mike White returning.
I'll take the Jets. Mike White revenge. Absolutely.
Same here.
Seahawks.
No. Okay.
Interesting. I like that. Okay.
I mean, Seattle's just a tough place to play. You can't disrespect that 12th man. They're not a terrible team. So no, I like the Seahawks. Jets traveling across the country. No one likes coming up here.
Oh man. If the Jets lose this game, all hell will break loose. I can't wait for the airwaves for that one. That will be bad. So Cardinals and the Falcons.
Yeah.
Falcons are opening at -3.5. Let's give it to the Falcons on this one. Give J.J. Watt some love on his penultimate game.
for Alex not being here, I'll say it for him. Absolutely unwatchable football game if you're not a JJ Watt fan. If you're a JJ Watt fan, my personal opinion in this game, I think he's going to have a sack, and I feel like a forced fumble. That's my prediction in this game. Also, every sack he gets after for the next 2 games, I think he gets like $250,000. So, rooting for a ton of sacks right now.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Falcons here because these are 2 terrible teams and there's just no real knowing about who's going to actually out terrible the other person. You have Trace McSorley as your quarterback. He didn't look so hot this past week at home. I don't like him traveling 2,000 miles east for a 1:00 start time as the West Coast team traveling east. I'll take the Falcons.
Yeah. As much as I want to see JJ Watt dominate the game, just because this Bryan thing is just fascinating. I don't know. Yeah, I think the Falcons are going to win this one. I think Desmond Ritter finally figures some things out at home, and I think he's finally going to get a nice proper win. So I'm going to go with the Falcons here.
Bears are playing the Lions. Oh my. They're going out to Detroit. It's -6 points. I think Detroit is going to Detroit. I think the Lions are going to Lions. I'm going to give the Bears the upset on this one.
I'm taking the Bears as well. I think the defense is in a complete slide now. I think they've been playing well, but I think it's starting to give their support. So I think Justin Fields might have 100 yards and a touchdown on the run.
I'm going to say the Lions keep things going. I know they're struggling, but it's a huge game for them. So I'm going to go with the Lions here, knowing that they desperately need a win here. Hopefully they show up.
I think the Lions come out flat, but figure it out in the second half. I thinking a more high scoring game for this one, kind of like a 27-24 type of a game. Close Lions win.
Broncos are playing the Chiefs. Chiefs opening at -12.5 in Kansas City. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but we're going to be laughing because the Broncos are going to make a fool's comeback only to fall short. And we're going to see it all over again. But the Chiefs are going to win, and maybe with the Bills' loss, they can clinch home field advantage.
Okay, so we did this last week where we said we all knew we were picking the Chargers to beat the Colts. We were trying to see like how much. So I want to do that again really quickly here. No one's picking the Broncos. How much do the Chiefs win by? Better question. I'm going to start off. I think the Chiefs win by 19.
I think 28-3. 28-6.
I'm saying they're going to win by 24, even though I know I don't like big spreads and stuff like that. I think the Chiefs are just going to destroy them just for our amusement. So I'm saying they're going to win by 24 points.
They're only going to win by 10. Going to fall against the cover.
I think Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson might trip over the 50-yard line on a run.
I just saw somebody send me a Liberty Bowl clip that the quarterback in open field slipped and fell. That's what's going to happen. I think it was Oregon State. It looked like.
I hope Russell Wilson pulls Daniel Jones. I really would love to see it.
Oh man, that was a long time ago. So the Dolphins are playing the Patriots. Cleveland opening at -3. I think the Dolphins are going to win this, make their final game of the season against the Jets an epic matchup.
New England at home, you never know the weather. Gritty football team at home. The defense is playing lights out. Here, fun fact: Devin McCourty needs 2 more interceptions to tie the all-time Patriots interception record, and I think he might get it of one of them against Teddy Bridgewater this game. I see the Dolphins collapsing, and the Patriots winning by 7.
Yeah, as much as I want to see the Jets, I guess, play ourselves alive, right? They need the Patriots to lose.
Yeah. Or Buffalo.
Or Buffalo. So they have a shot. But yeah, just with this Tua news, I love Teddy Bridgewater, but I think the Patriots just take advantage of this situation. I think they're going to walk away with a win here.
I really want to take the Dolphins, but I just you know what? I'll take the Dolphins. I'll just talk myself into it here. Teddy Bridgewater will find a way. He will find a way. Shouldn't win this game. Find a way to win this game. Dolphins.
Saints are playing the Eagles. Eagles are opening at -6. I think the Saints are going to win and give the Eagles their first losing streak of the season. I think Gardner Minshew will play well, but it'll just be a weird game of weird proportions. And I just think the Saints are going to just come out playing a better game. And I just see that. When I really pick these games, specifically when I make my parlays, I try to envision the memes and the posts about like improbable things happening. And I started this after seeing the Monday night game where ESPN predicted that the Patriots had a 93% chance to win and the Bears won. I see something like that happening. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but Saints, I think they're going to just pull off an upset.
I
And the
agree
Eagles
with
are
you.
gonna bounce back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I see the Saints winning as well. Lane Johnson's out. Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown are questionable with C.J. Gardner-Johnson on injury reserve. That's a lot in the injury report right there. I think Cam Jordan's going to have a field day with your backup right tackle. He's definitely going to be lining up on him. Him and Demario Davis are going to probably tee off on blitzes all day long on that side. So I think it's going to be a rough day for Gardner Minshew with the loss of Lane Johnson, as we saw in the Cowboy game towards the end with pressure. And I don't know, this Saints team is weird. Like Andy Dalton and their tight end Jawan Johnson just like have this connection in the end zone of just scoring tutties. So, and you never know about Taysom Hill. So I take the Saints by a field goal.
I'm going with the Eagles here, just because Gardner Minshew looked great last week. I think if he plays, he will look great. And they're also playing the Saints, and the Eagles own the Saints' first-round pick. So I think they want a better pick from the Saints, which is why I think they're going to try to beat them down so that they slide up in their first round a little bit more. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here, with Gardner Minshew leading the way.
So, fun fact, when the Saints have played outside this year, they have not scored more than 17 points. I don't care how bad our defense is. I'm sure we'll be able to handle the Saints offense, and I'm sure we'll be able to put up more than 17 points offensively on the Eagles end. So I'm going to go a little bit more, I guess, cocky than usual when it comes to talking about the Eagles here. I think we're going to smack the fuck out of them. I think we're going to win by at least 3 touchdowns. And I think we're going to lock up this number 1 seed and rightfully rest against the Giants next week, because goddamn, it's been a long season.
So next up, the Browns are playing the Commanders. Washington opening at -2, which is, I think, too close of a spread. But I'm going to give it to Washington with the return of Carson Wentz, and people get overhyped for him in the week following. As I said, Washington needs 4 teams to lose to clinch a playoff berth. I think it's not going to be that easy, but I think people are going to think Carson Wentz is back, but they're just playing the freaking Browns.
I'm taking the Commanders, but Carson Wentz gets pulled at halftime and Taylor Heineke saves the game for a field goal winning drive.
I'm just going to go Cleveland outright here, just because I have no faith in Carson Wentz coming back. I think the Browns defense will take advantage, keep things limited, and it's going to be a low-scoring game, I think, but I think Cleveland is going to end up winning and covering.
The Browns haven't even scored 14 points offensively since Deshaun Watson came back as quarterback. Even with Wentz being Wentz, the team's good enough around him that they're going to be able to score more than 14. I can't imagine the Browns finding a way to win this. Commanders.
All right. The Jaguars are playing the Texans. Jaguars are going to Houston. Jacksonville's opening at only -4.5. Now, I know historically the Texans have had the Jaguars number, but they're going to go to 500 after this victory and get people really hyped for the next week against Tennessee after that. And hopefully they can secure a division title for the first time since Blake Bortles and company. So Jacksonville is taking this one, obviously.
I agree, Jacksonville, but I think Houston puts up a good fight just to try to keep the head coach's job in Lovie Smith. So, Jaguars by a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go Jacksonville here covering as well. I think the Texans, they've fought in every game they have. I think they show some fight here, but I think the Jags are going to overcome that and win. So I have the Jags and them covering as well.
Texans have won 10 in a row against the Jaguars. That's insane. I got 11 in a row. Texans.
Can you imagine? Oh man.
Sometimes one team has the other team's number.
San Francisco's going to Vegas this week. San Francisco's opening at -10. And they are going to upset Alex Ranelio. He might even call in sick again after this week if San Francisco defeats the Raiders. But I think they're going to handle them pretty easily.
Agreed there too. I think they're gonna handle the 49ers, and that spread is right at my number, so I'm gonna say they're gonna cover that spread at 10 too.
Yeah, I agree. 49ers covered the spread.
49ers cover. Raiders are god awful. They have no hope.
Now, this game's very interesting. Very, very interesting. The Vikings and the Packers. It's the Packers trying to sneak into the playoffs. The Vikings really don't have much to play for, but still a huge rivalry game and a huge game in Lambeau Field. 4:25, game of the week on Fox. Pretty exciting stuff. I think Aaron Rodgers could continue his winning streak. It's 4:25, not 1 p.m. So Kirk Cousins, that plays a factor into this. And I think the Packers are going to be able to pull off this victory, and they are favorites in this.
One point of clarification really quickly. Vikings still have a shot at the 1 seed if the Eagles lose out, and the 49ers are right behind them. So they're probably trying to lock up that 2 seed. So the 49ers can't leapfrog them, and, they have to go to San Francisco for a round 2 game. So I think the Vikings have everything to play for. And yes. I think the Packers have been getting fortunate at playing bad teams recently. The Vikings are not a bad team. Vikings are going to win.
I'm taking the Packers in this game. It's very hard to beat, Aaron Rodgers twice in a season in the division, I always feel. So I have the edge on this one. So, I'm taking Green Bay.
I'm going Vikings here. I guess we'll make it all maybe even. But I'm going Vikings here. Came out with a tough win against the Giants. I think they're fighting for seeding here this week. So I'm going to take them playing hard against this Packers team. So I have the Vikings in the covering the spread there too at 3.
In a battle of Los Angeles, the Rams and the Chargers are going at each other. This game was flexed out of the Sunday night matchup. So 4:25, Chargers are opening at -6.5. I think the Chargers are going to roll right through. Justin Herbert's going to have a good game, and they're just going to excite some people some more. I think the Baker love is just going to dwindle down a little, but he'll play another good game, but not good enough.
I think the Chargers will win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people think, just because I just don't have faith in the Chargers defense. So I have the Chargers winning by a touchdown.
I'm going Chargers winning here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams cover the spread, just the way Baker's been playing as well, and this Chargers defense is on and off. Chargers are going to win this one. It's going to be a battle, but I can see the Rams covering as well.
I'm just trying to figure out who's actually the home team here, or if they're both the away team, or I don't know how this works. But truthfully, I am picking the Rams to cover. I think, the Rams have been playing inspired since Baker took over, and the Chargers seem to play down to their competition sometimes. I don't know what it is, but they don't really kind of just hammer teams. They seem to play close with everyone. Chargers by 3.
The Steelers and the Ravens was flexed into this game.
Don't know why.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. On this New Year's Eve night, Steelers and Ravens. Ravens are opening at -2.5. I'm gonna give, even though I was roasting him specifically, I think Kenny Pickett will pull off the upset, and they'll go down to Baltimore and defeat the Ravens.
I agree with you. I think this might be Kenny Pickett's best game of the season coming up because Mike Tomlin is going to be chewing him off. You better not cause me to lose my winning record streak the entire week. So I expect there'd be a lot of pressure, and I think Kenny Pickett will step up to the challenge.
Well, we're recording this on Wednesday. As of today, Lamar Jackson still isn't practicing. So if he's not in the game, I can't pick the Ravens in good conscience. I got to give it to Steelers here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens have squeaked by, but I think another week without Lamar is going to bite them here. And I think Pickett will do just enough. It's going to probably be an ugly game. I think he can do just enough to lead them to a win. So I'm going to go with the Steelers here.
This is by far the best Monday Night Football game. Something that
hold up. We missed one. We didn't do the Panthers Buccaneers.
Doing so?
Yeah, no, we didn't. Sorry about that. I skipped that. I missed that one on my list. Sorry. But first, the Panthers and the Buccaneers. As I mentioned, the Buccaneers need to win this game to clinch the division. The Panthers need to win, and they also need to win next week in another Bucs loss to secure their place. A lot is on the line. 1 p.m. This game arguably should have been flexed into Sunday night. It didn't for whatever reason. The Bucs are opening at -3 at home. I think Tom Brady will not mess this up. He's going to finally figure it out with these receivers, even if these receivers don't want to figure it out for him. The Bucs are going to win, even if it's their last win of the season.
I'm taking Carolina because I have faith in Derrick Henry Jr., Deontay Foreman carrying this team with Chuba Hubbard. In my opinion, the best running back duo of the last few weeks so far. And I think Sam Darnold's playing clean game lately. He's not afraid of this Tampa defense. I wouldn't be afraid of this Tampa defense. And they almost lost to the Cardinals. The Panthers are a lot better than the Cardinals. So, I'm seeing Carolina win by touchdown.
Yeah, I'm going to just because it's a big game for them. They've been playing tough with their interim head coaches last 2 weeks. The running has been crisp, and the Bucs team has been suspect. I think they're going to get caught off guard here, which is why I have the Panthers winning this week.
I got to tell you guys, I have no logic for this pick. I do not know why I'm even making it, but I just have a gut feeling that the Buccaneers are going to find a way to have another one of these late game heroic comebacks. Doesn't make any sense. The Panthers are the better team. Their running attack is vicious. Buccaneers have no run defense, but I just get this strong feeling that the Buccaneers are going to find a way to win this one in the end. So I'm going to pick them.
That's why we hate Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And as mentioned, Monday Night Football, great matchup ahead. The Bills are going to Cincinnati. The 12-3 Bills going up against the 11-4 Bengals. Buffalo only opening at -1 point. Very, very, very intriguing matchup. Maybe we even see these teams play again in the playoffs. But this is going to the Bengals easily. No doubt in my mind, the Bengals are going to defeat the Buffalo Bills. Mark it.
I think the Bengals will blow out the Bills. I
Ooh.
think this might be a 14-point, 17-point win. I think Josh Allen might have his worst game of the season. I think he's going to throw 3 interceptions this game. I think the secondary is that lethal. I expect Von Bell and Jesse Bates to be spying him, running up and intercepting balls very easy. I feel like his mechanics have been sus lately, and I feel like he's been leading with his eyes and staring down receivers the entire season. And I think we're going to finally see what Josh Allen is, a really good raw talent quarterback that needs more help in a mentorship role from coaching and players around him. So I have the Bengals by a large margin.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a back and forth, and I hope shootout. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the Bengals are going to win this one, though. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be probably a game-winning field goal to end it. But I'm hoping for a great game. But just the way the Bengals are playing, and at home, that place is going to be rocking with those implications on the line. I hope they meet again in the playoffs, but I think this is going to be the first start of a great duel that we're going to see going forward.
I really hope that the NFL does their thing and make sure that the Bills and the Bengals and the Chiefs all play each other every year. going forward from now on, because I think we all deserve that. I didn't think the Bills could go into Kansas City and win, and they did. And I didn't think they'd go into Cincinnati and win, but I'm not going to bet against Josh Allen twice in the same season. So I'm going to pick the Bills to find a way to win high scoring shootout type of a game, 31-28 type of a game.
Good stuff. And quickly, gentlemen, may I ask you in this timely manner? I just want to hear your college football the college football semifinals predictions. They're happening this Saturday, 4 p.m. It starts with the TCU Horned Frogs, ranked 3 in the nation, against the number 2 Michigan Wolverines, with Michigan opening at -7.5. Give it to the Horned Frogs. They're gonna pull off this upset.
Wow. Was not expecting Matt to say that. No, I'm a big college football fan. I'm going Michigan all the way here. They're going to cover. I think just the way that they've, fired their way through the end of this season, and huge wins left and right. I think they have another huge win. I think they're set to make it to the championship. So I'm going to go Michigan here, and they're going to cover.
Could you make? You could go first. Go.
I just feel like Harbaugh is just going to find a way to choke in this moment. I got TCU as well. But on the other hand, though, are we talking about Georgia and Ohio State as well? Or are we saving that one?
Yeah, that's going to be the next one.
Gonna be the next one. Okay. Yeah. No, I like TCU here. I think,
That's what I'm saying.
Michigan looks suspect in a lot of these games. I mean, they've barely eked out. So I know everyone's enamored with how they went to Columbus and beat Ohio State, but they've also just kind of just played down to a lot of opponents this year, and then found a way to kind of wear them down as the game went on. But I think TCU is too good for that. I like them winning this game.
I agree with you, Desmond. Could you make a parlay with a college team winning and an NFL team winning? Probably, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
So
It would be a combined parlay.
Yeah, so here's my combined parlay. The TCU quarterbacks go off. Andy Dalton and TCU both win in the same weekend. Talk about a day for good old TCU Horned Frogs. There's my parlay for the week.
The better parlay would be both Harbaugh brothers lose by 10 points this week.
There's another one. There we go.
And then just finishing it out, yes, Ohio State is going to play the Ohio State Buckeyes, 4th in the nation, going against the undefeated, number 1 ranked University of Georgia Bulldogs.
I should have done a jersey swap. I should have put my Georgia jersey on.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this to the Bulldogs. I think they're going to continue their undefeated ways. I think they're going to get into the national championship once again. And even though Bennett is an okay quarterback, it seems everyone else around him is generational. I think they're going to defeat the Ohio State Buckeyes. By the way, the spread there is Georgia at -6.5, which I think they will cover.
I have Ohio State winning just on the sheer. I don't really watch that much of college football, but I have a feeling I saw some Marvin Harrison Jr. highlights, and I think this kid's going to go off. I think that kid is going to go off this game. That's my feeling. Win by a touchdown.
Every time you want one of these SEC teams to lose in one of these big games, they don't just, not only do they win, they blow out whoever it is you put up against them. Ohio State is a big name franchise, in college football, and they're going to feel great, but they're playing Georgia in a home game. They're playing in Atlanta. I know this is going to be it's going to be ugly. Like a 24-point beatdown ugly. Georgia is by far and away the best team in college football this year. It's not close.
I'm biased here. I'm a Georgia fan. I think last year their defense was arguably one of the best we've ever seen. This year their defense is incredible. Every big game where I had my doubts, that defense has showed up time and time again. And Stetson Bennett is proof that he's one of the best stories in college football, just with what he can do with all that talent around him. So like Desmond said, it's pretty much a glorified home game. I think they're going to go in.
Yeah.
I was nervous against Ohio State. Don't get me wrong. I think they have all the talent in the world to battle against Georgia and make it a fun game. I just don't think it's going to be. I think Georgia's going to show up, wreak havoc, and I have Georgia winning this one and covering the spread. I think the game could get ugly if Georgia comes out firing like they did a few weeks ago.
All right. That wraps that up. Got a little bit of everything. And I appreciate you gentlemen as always. Have a happy new year. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you in a week as we talk about the final week of the NFL season from there.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Peace. All right. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good job, guys.
Very good.
I got to
Oh,
Very
wait,
good.
I pressed
Happy New Year,
stop
everyone.
video. Whoops.
start.